Hello, welcome to WAMM. We have returned for another week of modern media. This
Woot.
week on modern media, we are talking about survival games, death games, squid games. You know them. A lot of you
You know
watch
them. You
some
have
of them.
opinions.
You've ever watched Squid Games? Mariah Nikki? Or you're like me, one of the OGs, and you watch Battle Royale, or as you Americans call it, Hunger Games.
Yeah,
I think those might be two different properties.
No,
They
they're not.
are.
It's the same movie. Put them side by side. Can't tell the difference.
Can't tell
No, they're not.
Can't
Shut
tell
up,
the difference.
Kaiser. Opinion
Some
and
have
valid
more
ratioed.
ages than others. No, I'm just saying I haven't seen a single person that's Asian in Hunger Games.
That's a
true.
lie. They're all Asian.
That's Battle Royale.
I'm pretty sure that they're all American, but like post-apocalyptic America.
They're all Asian.
Yes. We're here with the normal crew. Me,
Hear someone
Kaiser,
say yes in
Thomas,
someone's
and
background.
Roz. Because they know the truth.
The goons. We are here.
Yes. We're gonna be just talking all survival game things through shows we like, shows we didn't like, their core concept, what's good about them, what's bad about them. It's a lot.
And I'm going to stir the pot the entire way.
I'm gonna
I don't
provide
think you
helpful
can.
feedback.
Thank you.
I
Thank
will
you
not
for
be
your pot
helpful.
stirring and your spice, respectively.
I will be
Yeah,
the villain.
now we have all the internet with us.
Someone has to represent Twitter.
Can't you
I mean,
represent
Twitter
the
does
nice
that
side
too,
of
though.
Twitter?
No.
No.
All right, how do we want to start this?
I think it's a good idea to just clear the air on. We already named our couple of shows, but to really get specific on what is considered a survival, death, battle royale genre.
Yes.
These types of stories involve, at the very least, two core elements. One, where death is an absolute certainty for most of the participants. And the second is that it's some type of game, or there's some gamified element to it. Usually, this
Yes.
means somebody spectating in the case of like the Hunger Games, or in the case of a show Alice in Borderland. Other times, it's just amongst the participants, they gain something by being the lone survivor amongst all the players, like the powers of a god or infinite riches. Doesn't really matter. But the combination of these two elements creates the setting for many of the stories that we'll be talking about today.
Yep. Whether it's a free for all or a tournament, there are many types of survival games out
Wait.
there.
Does the Dark Tournament count?
No,
Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yes.
Not
no.
everyone dies. It's not a
That's a
guarantee
tournament arc.
It's not a guarantee for the participants. You're just beating each other.
Yes.
True.
Now many of them do
about-
die because those are demons in that case. They
Well,
have no sense of morality that we can ascribe them.
I was thinking about the high body count in the stands.
I mean, that's nope. That's just a tournament arc in a standard anime.
I say Vegeta does the same thing in Dragon Ball. It just kills like a nice third of the world tournament population for no reason.
Good
Yeah,
time.
but they always come back.
Yes, very fortunately. Let's not bemoan
No.
that we were innocently murdered.
It's always unfortunate.
Won't remember.
Especially
You must feel bad for
Yamcha.
King Yama. King Yama be looking at this line just disappear. Like, where did I go? Bring him back. I'm doing my job. Where did he go?
Listen, King Yama wants the vacation days. Let's give him to him. Now, the importance of this kind of the reason why we're even talking about this, especially given that this is several weeks after our conversation about death, these are the types of stories where, as I mentioned before, death is a certainty for the majority of the characters that you meet in these. And so one of the most fascinating things that comes from a story like this is not necessarily how any one character's death impacts the entire story, but rather what really becomes highlighted when death is so ubiquitous and almost commonplace. We get to see all of these characters tackle different motivations that would, in a lot of ways, encourage them to be a part of this tournament free for all, even though they know that they're going into their deaths. And then there's also some people, unfortunately, mostly our main characters, who get into this unwillingly, without warning, without signing a waiver, and then find out, pretty much seeing someone else die first, going, "Oh no, I might die in this unforeseen circumstance I found myself in." And there's a lot of interesting exploration of the psyche from that angle as well. This is actually one of the few genres where the reluctant protagonist is somehow really common. At least out of the 3 or so shows that we'll mention today, 3 of them are very. If you ask them, "Hey, you want to participate in a game where you might die in exchange for either cool powers or money?" all of them will say no, vehemently, without even a second thought. They would never choose to be a part of this, if not for other characters or other external forces forcing them to.
Yep, like some of them, you just get drafted in. You didn't have a say in the matter. You were just picked.
Yeah. 3 particular examples comes from I believe it. I don't remember his last name. Let me take a look at this real quick.
What are you thinking of?
It's Mirai Nikki. It's Future Diaries main character,
Yuki?
Yeah, Yuki Taro. He was just a dude with a cell phone, and occasionally hallucinated that he was talking to God, and God turned his cell phone into the thing that he needs to participate in God's death game in order to.
They turned it into his future diary.
Yeah, roll credits and all that junk. Then there is the main character of Alice in Borderlands. His name is Kento Yamazaki. Oh, sorry, that's the actor. His name is Ryohei. Ryohei is just a normal Japanese 24-year-old that lives with his family. Goes out, to, I believe, like one of the central squares of Tokyo, the one that is always shown when we're seeing like travel tourist images, and everybody's crossing the street, the 4-way intersection, whichever way they can. I think it's like Ikebukuro. It's hard to remember.
I don't remember.
He and his friends, they force him out of the house, to go hang out with them. And in the Netflix version of this story, because there's both a manga and a Netflix show, they go to a bathroom. It's just standard what human beings do. They go to a bathroom, lights flicker, and when they come out of the bathroom, the entire city is seemingly deserted. They don't know where they are. Then they see that the lights turned off, and when they go see a building in the distance that does have lights on, they do find other human beings who are unfortunately in the middle of dying to a game. And that's how they find out they're in the death game.
Oh my god.
Very unreluctantly. And then there's my last example.
Oh my god, this is Kansas.
This is Kansas.
I feel like this was a
final example, Dead Man Wonderland, where we have our main character named Ganta Igarashi, who was just a school student, doing school student shit. His entire class gets murdered. The people, the police and various criminal justice systems of this universe think it's him, and they send him to the most dastardly prison that they can think of.
They see the sole survivor, and they said, "Yep, he did it."
Yeah. They did not do any due process. They just looked at the horrific scene of of the classroom painted red, and were just like, "All right, let's send this 16-year-old up in there."
Well, they also had a confession tape that was completely not forged. It was not possible. No way.
Right, of course.
This kid was there.
The police would quote unquote never do unlawful arrests.
Crazy.
Yeah, what would they get from that?
Moving on. These are just some examples of often a lot of the other characters. They're like, yeah, I know this is a death game. I'm in it for the money, or I'm in it to save a life.
Yeah.
Use their own. Like, I want to go home, which honestly puts them immediately in the realm of relatability, because we ourselves, hopefully, would not want to actively choose to be in these kinds of situations either.
I don't know, it could be fun.
Okay. I'm glad that you're the one who said it compared to the three of us.
Well, you know, all of us gotta have a bit of caucasity.
Yeah, you feel good exercising your healthy dose of capacity.
Listen, if I don't use it in too long, I start to wilt.
Now,
And that's just a small bunch of the many survival games out there. Some that you might not even think are survival games, like the Fate series.
Yeah, that does count.
yep,
Each one of them is a survival game.
yep. It is all about. Usually, also the not it is not just the I forgot what they're called. The summons.
Servants.
It's not just the servants that die. It's also usually a lot of the wielders as well, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
the masters can also get killed, and
there
if they
can
die,
only be one. Oh,
send them back.
Highlander counts.
That's true. Now,
Survival games are far few. There are a good chunk of them that you didn't see coming.
so I think before getting into other specifics, one definite highlight I would also like to say, outside of interesting exploration into character motivation and character building, there's also just the almost promise of high tense situations. After all, when all of the characters are intimately aware that they can die, for the series, you get to see a lot of strategy that comes from you can see a lot of strategy that and ingenuity that comes from the situations all of these characters are in, and also, of course, the strategies employed by those who have completely different mindsets about how to approach the game. Some people who have no qualms about throwing another man under a bus in order to achieve their goal is going to be tackling every single situation different than a person would who is a Captain Save-A-Ho, if I had to use that in a reparative context, and would be willing to risk their lives to ensure that all of the other players, also, or at least as many people, survive as possible. This includes casuals. There are innocents as well that get caught up in the middle of these activities. I guess I'll call them.
Yes, some of them anyway. A lot of them do their best to make sure that the innocent populace is not harmed, unlike Future Diaries.
What are you doing? My past?
Oh,
Like Alice in Borderland does transport them into a separate reality of Tokyo, but when something like Eden of the East happens, oh, there were so many casualties.
oh yeah, yeah. And so there's something very interesting when it's taking place either in our real world, or should I say, in a location that is filled with non-participants, as opposed to a place specifically housed for the participants. We get to we get to have one of the other draws. We get to have finally a more external perspective on the ongoings of the events in any of these given games. Many people in Future Diaries, for instance, are not participants. There's only 12 of them with the magic cell phones. Everybody else is usually a family member, a person that one of the participants is fighting for, and just random bystanders. And we get to hear and see a lot of these perspectives come in about what's going on. As in the case of our main character, Yuki, he has parents and a couple of friends. They all are generally worried about his well-being, very, very much so, and of course are now on the chopping block and always a potential target for harm because other members of the game might target them in order to do some psychological damage. They also might target them because, well, some of the participants are active psychopaths who have no regard for life. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Other main character.
It's to a bunch of the other ones.
Uh,
Literally, the first one we get to meet tries to blow up the school.
but in Alice in Borderlands, since they're in a separate reality from what it's currently explained in the Netflix version of the series, I haven't read the manga, unfortunately. There are no bystanders. Everyone is a participant of the games, whether they're whether they're doing the challenges or spoiler organizing some challenges,
Yep.
and or moderating those same challenges and systems that keeps everybody, mainly the unwilling participants, in the games. Maurice,
Me.
would you like to describe a little bit about you mentioned before Fate.
Yes.
Let's dissect it a little bit. What do you think about Fate being a death game and how that shapes its narrative compared to if it was just a regular, even like shonen, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon style battle manga?
The the thing that shapes it differently than like a battle manga does not need an endpoint per se because they can just keep going with different storylines going to different locations. Versus a survival game like Fate or Mariah Nikki, there are a certain number of people here, and they are dying like flies. Like if they changed it to a battle manga format, where you had to, let's say, like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, though you have to go out find each one, and it's only you versus them. That would be like that would change it from a survival game to a battle manga versus everyone out for themselves. So people are plotting and planning. It turns it into a the best way I like to describe it is a game of Commander for Magic. There are now
Yeah,
politics involved. You can make allies with other players, even though you know eventually you will have to stab them,
yep, there is that.
which
Uh,
is a big component of Fate, where people are allying with themselves and each other to try to one up the other players. Like, oh man, sabers are strong. I want to team up with a saber. Versus sabers are strong. I want to team up with an assassin and the caster to kill the saber. So then we can kill each other without worry.
yep. Now, this, all of this interplay adds a lot of game theory to the element of the story, one that wouldn't exist if it was just a, Metabots, Metabots Digimon style. Here's who I'm battling today. Let's see who takes a W. This naturally leads into my next question. Then, what do you think becomes a downside of maybe a particular pitfall when it comes
Oh,
to this type of story, and maybe even with Fate as an example?
the answer for that is the pitfall is simply you. No matter which one you really watch, you know your main character is fucking fine.
Yeah. Uh, the I'm pretty sure even in the three examples that I've given of Dead Man Wonderland, Alice in Borderland, and Future Diaries,
Hmm.
the main characters, they make it to the end.
They're going to be fine. They either have to win or they have to just survive long enough for everyone to get out. Whether it's Danganronpa, Alice in Borderlands, Fate,
And it goes
um,
beyond that too. I mean, fucking Hunger Games, Squid
Yeah.
Games, all of them. The only way to get
yes,
around that is if you actually take the time to write the story from multiple perspectives
Hmm.
and you don't
and
introduce the main character first. Like
and here's the
honestly,
thing, they did that in one of them, which is Junie Tyson. But even then, they already showed who was going to win kind of near the start
how'd they do that?
because because we already saw like one of them die from the start, and during the first like two episodes they showed that if they revealed their backstory during the episode, they died, and it just kept continuing like that over and over again. The only person's backstory we never get to see is Mouse, and
Yeah.
Mouse is the winner.
That's the other thing. With these kinds of shows, uh, death flags are kind of like they're kind of
Yeah.
a bummer because like in most things like death flags, it's just like, oh no, is this character going to die because no one's died yet? Uh, but with this, it's like, this is what it's talking about. It definitely their turn.
That's right.
Like, oh,
It becomes
cool.
it dangerously does become a novelty. Since you know that majority of the characters are going to die, it becomes a sort of like, all right, who's next? Shooting fish in a barrel type of guessing instead of oh my god, I'm dreading the worst possible reality that
Bless
happened to
you.
the character.
Thank you.
If we were
Sorry.
watching something like I don't know, a bunch of people at a picnic
See,
doing normal picnic things.
one person who I think does this stuff right is Maurice.
I know.
Ooh, it's time for a
I
parking
am
hour.
not going to go into it because of the fact that it, I am sure, eventually will start to be posted. Story Maurice is currently working on called Team Deathmatch. I am privy to information as I am assisting with a number of scenes and just brainstorming. But Maurice has a very good mind for these sorts of things and setting people up without going, oh no, this main character's gonna die. Oh no, they died. Look, it's so sad. Right? You're
Yeah.
sad now, right? No, Maurice is actually intelligent with his setups and with how he wants to do things and the timings of them, which is one of the most important parts.
Yes, but no, mine still also fall into rhythm, as you could say. Like after a while, you will be able to predict who is the main character and who is not going to fucking die.
I don't know about that.
Like things could change. Like remember, I'm still in the process of writing it, but it's just the idea of like if there's a main character, the odds of them surviving is so fucking high. It doesn't matter. There's only one time this actually like they got one on me, and it was not even a death game, but it was close to it. It was Juvenile Remix, where let's just say the main character dies just halfway through the story, and I didn't see it coming.
Now, here's an interesting question I have for you guys.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about how there are some pitfalls with this just writing style in general, just due to the way that things are done and the fact that you're trying to write a story about death where we live in a society where when people die it's bad.
Yeah.
What are some kind of I had it and it literally just fucking evaporated from my mind.
Woo!
Maurice, say what you said a second ago. Character dying halfway through, didn't see it coming, there was something after that.
The character, I think that was it. They stopped there.
What are some good ways that you guys have seen to get around that, though? Because everyone, how to put this, if it's not a Transformers movie, they're, even with things where people are like, it's real fun if you turn your mind off, most people will go into something, especially with, like, horror or anything with death involved, and they will try to fucking mega head the fucking story and be like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. Like,
Right.
how everyone talked about Squid Games when it was on.
That's right.
Like the way to get around it.
Yeah, like tricks that people have used that you have been like, that's really good.
Oh, mm.
If I may, I do have an example of using feature diaries. There is one particular character that I did like, and even though the entire concept of the story demanded that he would die, using that, we got to have a fairly entertaining character overall. Maurice, if you remember him, he's the actually both of you watched Future Diaries. I'm talking about the police. I believe his like
Yeah,
designation was like number 3 or something. They were all numbered for some fucking reason.
because they need to be. But yeah, I
Uh,
remember the policeman.
yeah, yeah. Number three's whole thing was like, I chose to get into this because I just want to cure my son's illness. Right? I'm doing this for another person, but also what made him a very beneficial and almost potential ally for Yuki at the time of the story was that Yuki didn't want to kill anybody because he begrudgingly was in this and has a fucking conscience. But this policeman also had a conscience, despite coming into this game where he knew he would have to take other people's lives. But he didn't want to take lives of people he didn't think deserved it. He wasn't forced to that kind of thing yet. And that was the key part. I believe the pivotal change for him was that his son does die. And I don't remember what else specifically happens to him, but a combination of that and another thing decided to make him go, fine, I need to kill you all so I can bring him back to life. Which was the
Also,
first
he's
time
number 4.
that story started that rhetoric of
Yes.
being God will allow you to also reverse death on top of all the other bell and whistle benefits that being God entails.
Yes. But also, just so you know, he's number 4. The third one is the teacher, the
Okay,
serial killer.
number 3 was the first person that attacked Yuki, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. If anything, from looking at it, it kind of looks like they're just meeting them order.
Didn't
Yeah,
they
yeah, that makes
fight the cop in the hospital that his son was at?
yes.
That one had like a weird episode where like cut in the middle of the action, I think.
Yes, the presentation was a little sloppy, but that's a thing of the show,
I was
not
about to say, I
necessarily.
feel like the entire show could be described as kind of sloppy.
That is a thing of the entire. Sloppy is a thing of the entire show, not of just these individual characters. Uh, as you know, I'm trying to really avoid an elephant in the room unless I am forced to talk about it.
Um, a way that they can get around, like clever things they can do inside this. One of them is actually in Fate. Just because you lost your servant does not mean you're out of the tournament. I mean, you are out of the tournament, but it doesn't mean you can't participate. So let's say Fate's main character Shiro loses Saber. That doesn't mean he can't help fight. He still has magic. He can still fight other servants if he wants. So even if he loses the game, he's not out of the story, which allows the story to continue.
Well, that's how Kodomine managed to be in the second one. Because if you can partner up with another servant, you can get back into the game as long as you have like command seals.
Mm, okay,
Yes.
that's interesting.
Yes, so they just let you. The rules for the Holy Grail War were kind of loosey goosey, but at the same exact time rigid. Number one, please don't fuck with the innocent. I just asked you not to do that. They didn't listen. Sometimes they fuck with the innocent, Medea,
Mm,
and but yeah. And so going down one of the 3 fate paths, different outcomes can happen. Like not only are people teaming up with each other, but like looking at Fate Zero, each Fate Stay Night path, and Fate Apocalypse, the rules sometimes just like there were people breaking rules, Medea,
That
and
woman
that's
was a walking cheat code.
her literal noble phantasm was called Rule Breaker.
Yeah.
Oh.
cheating ass.
But so yeah, that was an interesting way to keep allow your characters to lose but not be out of the game permanently versus in other ones where when you die in a game you die in real life where now the story's over or we have to follow a different protagonist, which they would rarely do. I would not mind you killing a character, especially the main character, and changing the main character to one of the side characters
Here is a question
because
though, because I actually thought of this question right before you started talking about this.
Uh-huh.
How would you guys feel if there was a situation wherein there was a death game going on, we had our main character gets close to the end, maybe not even like into second place, like third, fourth, and then just they lose and the story just ends the moment they die?
I wouldn't like
I
that.
I would be very disappointed because we could just follow a different character.
Yeah. I mean, part of the appeal of this game, much like what we see, well, much like almost a twisted version of what this entire genre is meant to be, it's for our entertainment. It's not necessarily that we need the main character to live, rather, we just need to see how this game completes. We all
Yes.
have different. We all back different horses. It's just that one particular pitfall of this writing, as we already handed out, is that the main character is sort of intentionally positioned to win
Wait,
from a writing
Yes.
standpoint. So there's not much reason to have our backs to back any of the other characters. Just see what they do and how they might get close to severely, if not permanently, harming our main character.
question.
There.
Yes,
Yes.
Does Zatch Bell technically count?
yes,
We have countered it. We disqualified it for the fact that no one really dies; they just get sent back home.
right.
But
It's
bare
it's a
minimum,
very
that
it's a
bell
very
is a survivor.
intentionally shown in because none of these shows, none of the genre, none of the shows that we specifically listed are counted shonen. These are not for young teens.
No, they are
Yeah.
definitely not.
But
These
yeah,
are
Zatch Bell would. Yeah, Zatch Bell would count as a survival game. It's a shonen battle survival game because it spans for so long. Not as a bad thing. It's a really good show. I recommend it to people.
yeah, absolutely wonderful. Yes,
I
if
love
you
Zatch
have a
Bell.
point, Kaiser. If you allude to a great idea, if someone was to write a story where there are multiple teams that you can root for at any given point, despite death being a very real consequence, or because death is a very real consequence for them, then yeah, it becomes infinitely more interesting if you're the horse that you back, while is not guaranteed a victory, still has good enough standing for you to have your disbelief to keep your suspension of disbelief and go, they might be able to. As a
See,
as
yeah,
a notable example of a story that does this very well, from what I've heard, not from my seeing myself, the sports anime Haikyuu for volleyball has this in spades, as there are plenty of different five-man teams met across the series, and at any given time, because it's volleyball and not death, the possibility of losing is very real for our initial main characters of Hinata and the rest of his team. And they do
yeah.
lose, from what I understand. And there's other characters and other teams that will always be fighting each other and will have episodes dedicated to that. And those teams could have a very real possibility of winning or losing. And a lot of the entertainment comes from watching that play by play ongoing.
I always feel like for them to actually be able to have one where it's just up for grabs is you can't have a main character, but you have to treat it as if it was an actual reality show. So the main characters would not be any of the participants; it would be the casters.
I was about to say,
So
so
like,
your recommendation might be, if you were to do a death game, would be to write it from, uh, in a way, a little bit like the in-between portions of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, where someone is just making a written account of what happened, or it's an actual like announcer or observer that is just saying, "This is
yeah,
what's happening right now."
Yeah,
like just imagine like the cameraman was just following people. So like if you want to have like characters one-on-one interactions, you have it like not from let's say a security camera point of view, but like a cameraman point of view, as if it was either wrestling fused with I'm actually going to kill this person.
yeah. Honestly, and sort of hilariously, the way to approach this kind of narrative division is to do what all of these shows do not. They focus on the fact that these are very real people in a situation, and the twist of that situation is that it's often a game played up for someone's entertainment or someone's grandiose purpose, and not the audience's, technically, but making it intentionally for the audience's gamified gamified entertainment and perspective is the key to making this a more entertaining story, with the right elements, of course, added in as well.
Yes. Like right now, there is one thing out there kind of doing it this way. It's not fully
Yeah.
a death game, but it kind of is. And that's Records of Ragnarok, where
So,
it's pretty much two teams of the humans versus the gods in a fuck each other up format.
mm.
So
Oh, is
you'll
that
have people like,
that's the fighting anime, right? Where they're like some of them, like Adam was boxing one of the gods, like Zeus or
yeah,
something.
Yeah, he was fighting Zeus. Yeah, that's Records of Ragnarok. Because at that
Actually,
point, it's just two teams, and you can pick either side. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
I think a really good way to do it would be Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is kind of weird because Game of Thrones still follows main characters, but they have multiple main characters,
Yeah,
which is
have
perfectly
multiple.
fine. But like, if you have to follow all 12 people, that's going to be kind of
That's a lot. I mean, that's
yeah.
true.
That's why the camera angle point of view is like you only catch the very interesting moments and not the uninteresting moments. Where you just like jumping back and forth between like people doing things and things like that before their match, or see how people will get along with each other and things before they have to kill each other, or depending on or one of the ways I thought was like a really cool way to do it was the Junie Tyson way. Except for the way you do it is you introduce all the characters first. Like that's literally the first half of the story is introducing each person that's going to be a part of the tournament. And then the second half is they just fucking go. Nonstop. They just fucking go.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, that's structured a little bit more like horse racing.
Yeah.
Here are horses. Here's Chestnut. Here's Sunshine. Here's Wallaby. Pedal your horse and
Vegetarian.
3, 2, 1, fire a gun.
And you just right there you have a bet on whoever you want to win. Now the hard part is, no one main character gets like all their structure or focus or anything like that. But the other side is you don't know who's gonna win. And this shit is fucking action packed. So, I give this story a good 7, 8, depending on how well the person writes it. Maybe all these characters are interesting as hell. Maybe this one's out here trying to get money for his kid with cancer. Maybe this one out here is trying just to get the cure for cancer. That's my wish. I'm gonna cure all cancer.
Yep.
This one over here is just a serial killer. Crazy.
Because there's
He
always
could win.
yeah. I was saying no, this is actually a great lead in.
Before you get into that, before we
yes.
get too far away from it, I have a hot take I want to give, and hopefully this won't take too long.
Sure.
Spicy.
Despite everyone's belief on the way that Game of Thrones does death, I think that it's incredibly tame. I believe, in fact, relatively, it's rather cowardly in the premise it sets up with what it's willing to do to characters. Because it basically, from the word go, is like, we're gonna kill characters. But then, they kill, like, Eddard. Also, spoilers, if you still haven't watched it or read it,
I haven't, but I don't care.
it's too late. They kill Eddard Stark. They kill Robert Baratheon. They kill Robb Stark. And other than that, and technically Catelyn Stark, but to be perfectly honest, Catelyn is much more of a reactor than an actor in the show. Well, not the show, sorry, the book. And that's basically it for, like, real main people. Like, there are a whole lot of... Yeah, sorry, Catelyn Stark. Other than that, it's a whole lot of, like, major main characters that they kill, but not really any main characters. Like, yes, Joffrey dies. Yes, X, Y, and Z people die. If you, like, got the intro to Game of Thrones, and you're like, yeah, Joffrey's gonna live for a long time. I don't know what the fuck you were smoking. I would like some. Does he live for a while? Yeah, that's what you do with bad guys. They generally survive for quite a while. Yeah, too long. Technically, if you really like get into it, I think George R. R. Martin did a very good job with this characterization. Too long was about 5 seconds after he showed up. Now, the thing with all of that is the whole concept and the way that, like, yeah, even main people will die is only true in season 1 and season 8. Yes, Rob dies in, like, season 2. I don't know what season he dies in. He dies in the second book. Pretty sure. Whenever he dies. Other than that, all the rest of the characters, while, bad things happen, they live. And the close calls with death are not really that close because they will have plot armor. Arya gets stabbed in the chest and runs around and gets stabbed several more times by the same person who's a master assassin, but she lives and ends up stabbing them once and kills them.
Can I say one thing, last thing for Game of Thrones?
Mm-hmm.
I
Game
can't
of
take
Thrones,
it
yeah.
seriously anymore because of South Park. Whenever I'm thinking about or watching anything that has to do with Game of Thrones, the only thing going in my brain is wiener, 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 wiener. I can't do it anymore. It's fucking South Park killed it.
I mean,
Damn.
that's South Park for you.
And then just the cherry, and then we can get back into it.
Uh-huh.
If they had kept up with the way that they had been like, yes, we will kill main characters, as they had in the first one, like I understand a lot of people die, a lot of named characters die. Not many of them at all are actually like important named characters. They kill Robb Stark for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I think the show could have been much more compelling.
I can believe it. I can believe it.
Oh, some people fucking. If any Game of Thrones nerd watches this, they're probably gonna be mad I didn't mention whatever the fuck her name was who married Joffrey for a little bit. Like, but she dies. Like, she was in like a season.
You mean Sansa?
No, not Sansa.
No.
Oh.
Other lady whose grandma was actually
She's
the
a
mastermind.
Tyrell.
Tyrell, thank you. Marjorie Tyrell or something? Margarine? I think she's one of the Mez.
Maddie.
I know she played Moriarty in the Elementary TV show.
Yeah, she's a great
Huh.
actress.
Yes, she is.
Not really a main character though. She was just there. It's kind of like Braun is not a main character. As cool as that motherfucker is and how many good lines he has, that is the definition of a side character.
He's
Unfortunately,
a side character to Tyrion Lannister.
yes, Tyrion Lannister is a main character.
He never
Fucking
died.
Tywin is a side character. The issue is that people will say that those are main
I
characters.
was an antagonist.
Who?
Depends on who you ask. But Tywin Lannister, if you don't know, I've been feeling like I kind of want to watch Game of Thrones, but also I'm like, man, those last seasons though.
I mean, yeah,
I
just
just-
go
I
watch
mean, you
the-
can always stop.
We could do an earlier. We could do an earlier WAM for in the week for watching TV shows and rating the episode.
Oh,
We'd have to work out a system for that, but not the point.
Yeah.
My entire point is that people have just been starved for well written side characters, and so when George R. R. Martin comes out and he actually writes extremely good side characters, people are like, that's a main character. It's like, no, what?
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
they're
Stop
used
it.
to
They
side
feel
characters
like
that
a
just
maid.
have the credit,
greatest-
the maid.
Or they're used to a side character who basically has one like actual personality trait and that's all. Like,
See,
it'd be kind of like if Bronn was just what he was in season 8, where he's just like, yes, money. I only care about money. I'm a fucking mercenary after all. The only thing that matters is money. Despite
See-
the fact that, Bronn is just a slightly thick-skinned character who actually has things that he cares about. But we don't need to talk about that now. This is not a Game of Thrones stream. In fact, I've completely hijacked Thomas's stream. You may have it back, sir.
Thank you. Now there's a very interesting thing about characterization that even happens in this very specific kind of story in survival games and death games. I mentioned that 90% of the participants are willing, give or take some shows and give or take main characters. The problem, or should I say, an interesting phenomenon that happens, is that you get to see a revolving door of certain types of characters, especially out of the very specific category of willingly choosing to be in the death game. There is always, even just looking at Future Diaries cast, we got the kinds of people who are batshit insane and the murderous kind. We got the batshit crazy, not murderous, but definitely just starved for boredom. Starved for entertainment. If they were starved for boredom, they'd be sitting on their couch eating potato chips. Pardon me.
That's not boring at all.
There is the moral, which is not necessarily the main character, but definitely share becomes a best bud to the main character in the almost a false sense of security in Future Diaries case. This is much what I'm describing the policeman as. Uh, there's always the deceptive. This is usually just in the form of a very visually attractive woman, because sometimes it's actually the women. A lot of the times, it's usually the form of a child if we're talking anime, because they love doing this for children. Sometimes it can also just be a character that just wouldn't look. You just wouldn't assume, like an old man. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
God
Squid
damn
game,
it!
right? There's always the wow, I didn't expect you to be here, or why are you here, kind of.
Why
The
are
plot
you
twist.
here? You lost.
And then
You
the main character,
posted cringe.
and then like I said, the main characters themselves. I know I mentioned the three particular examples, being all very similar, but there's also main characters who share a lot of these qualities of these other character archetypes that I said as well. But of course, thanks to our three particular examples, I will categorize them as the reluctant, the please let me go home. I don't want to be here. Which
Is
is
that the whole
Please,
title?
I did not ask for this.
yes.
The Cheryl Emmy is.
Cheryl Emiya actually was down with the clown once he learned what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was
He was
reluctant.
just the ignorant. That's what he was.
Like,
No,
what the fuck is
like
going
here's the
on,
thing.
man?
No, versus Yuki, who was actively not wanting to participate. Cheryl was like, "So what you're saying is we're in a death game where we have to fight over people and kill them, just so we can win the Holy Grail." Well, I don't want them to win the Holy Grail, but I don't want to kill people either. Can we beat them without killing them? No. Fuck.
All right, fine. You twisted my arm.
I guess I
Okay,
gotta
so we
go
don't have
kill
to kill
people.
the
I'll go get the
humans,
bat.
but so we can kill the heroic spirits and leave the people alive. Yes, because the heroic spirits are already dead. Blech.
Yes.
Unlike his father, who was actively willing to kill anyone in this fucking tournament.
His father was a menace.
Ritsugu actively he's killed so many of the masters and said, I ain't even testing a servant.
Now,
I ain't here for that.
I bring all of this up to highlight what I alluded to before when talking about the protagonists. Often, as a storytelling convention, readers, watchers, listeners, etc., will want to try to find a character to empathize with as a nice shorthand, easy way to actually root for their success and feel the tension in the story that the writer is trying to make using all of these characters. When it comes to all of these other kinds of characters, though, the homicidally insane, the just batshit crazy insane asylums, the deceptives, they are entertainment. They feel like partially because they're also side characters in this story. They feel like spices, set dressing, and various side dishes. Never something truly to invest your time in and to relate to any further than the skin deep personality that they show you, sometimes consequently before they die, as many of these characters often do, just come into your forefront for like 2 scenes and then die after. It's just what the writer dictated for the story, and it's very unfortunate in that case, of course. Uh, so it's hard to find really compelling characterizations of particular people. This is, I guess I'll finally talk about her. This is where Yuno Gasai comes in, despite being the main.
No.
The defender. You gotta love the protector class in these things.
Yeah. So there is this is the format. This is the type of story where a yandere just seems to naturally thrive. Because death is a commonplace consequence for just existing, and everybody else, usually everyone and their mothers and their family dogs, have a lack of morality. The yandere just gets to thrive here, usually by picking on main characters. This is not even the Yuki and Yuno is not even the only dynamic I can highlight amongst the shows that we've already
Oh
talked about.
yeah, because we can't forget about Dead Man's Wonderland, who
Correct.
has her acting as deceptive.
Uh,
Man,
the
you
very
shit.
interesting thing that comes from all of this is the uh, the use of what of how do you try to relate to these characters, or even if you want to relate to these characters at all. Because in Yuno's case, she is uncertifiably the craziest person on the show. This is in context, in Future Diaries context, chat, and people watching the VOD. Future Diaries has an orphanage mother who is using the children for her own purposes. The president, not the president, the mayor of the city, an old man who talks to God himself into orchestrating the games. That requires a level of batshit crazy to first just generally accept that you're talking to a god, and then go, "I'm gonna leverage this god for my own abilities." I
An
know,
active terrorist.
I know some of you out there are going, "Hey, I would do it." That means you're also homicidally insane, and I hope
Yeah.
to never see
Thank you
you
for
again.
identifying yourself. The police are already on their way.
Yes. As you mentioned, yes, a terrorist, one that is just a blow up terrorist, and then a more vigilante style terrorist that wears an awkward kind of like it's a wrapping thing that the Japanese people used for their jars. You know the kind of top that I'm talking about. It's like a
Yep.
cloth with like a band around it. He has it for his helmet. I don't know why. It's a him thing. He pretends he's a member of like the Super Sentai genre. He's again
Yep.
homicidally
A
insane.
fucking a Power Ranger.
And then I'm pretty sure that was the teacher
A
was the
serial
teacher
killer.
murderous, or was the teacher a little predatory in other senses?
He's a serial killer.
Okay, he's just a regular predator. Cool.
And a cult leader.
And a cult leader. Although that one,
And
again, there are some good characterizations. There are some surprising
yeah.
things that comes out of it. But it
The
all
lovers.
generally depends on the kind of focus that all of these stories and the writers give these characters. Because many of them, as we already named here from Future Diaries, they are surface level. Only the fourth, the police officer, the sixth, I believe, is the name of our. Yep, the sixth is the name of our cult leader, and
I think like kind of the later one, the 12.
I think the 12th, yeah, the blind man, yeah. The 12th, the fourth, and the sixth are like the three most interesting characters. The ninth is the terrorist with the purple hair. She's cool. She gets her arm blown off and has a family by the end of the show. It's fine. It's whatever.
It's
But
It
it's
fine.
was
nothing
weird.
to write home
One of them's the dad of one of Yuki's friends. It's
about.
fine. He has
Yeah.
dogs.
None of the other characters are necessarily further than skin deep. And it's a bit of a shame, of course. Because
Especially the lovers.
also
They
their
got nothing.
personalities themselves are sort of like caricatures of what actual humans are like, both in game theory, what people do when they play games, but also in a high stress situation sense, because of course this is a combination of both of those elements. Um, this leads to again what you already talked about, us not really getting to know characters naturally until we get exposited everything about them from their birth, and we're like, oh, well, they're going to die in the next like 10 minutes, because the why else will we be learning about these people now when we could have learned about them before the games even started, which is also something that many of these stories tend to skip over. They tend to start off another type of traditional writing sense where they establish a norm. Uh, Obviously, in the case of Alice in Borderland, the norm is just regular Japan. People, even outside of Japan, know what regular Japan is like. And then, boom!
Yes.
As soon as plot happens, we're transported to the fantastical elements of the show, that is the games. In Future Diaries sense, the normal, strangely enough, the normal was actually him just regularly taking notes on his phone, and then every afternoon talking with God. So I'm not sure if this was also religious propaganda, but I'm gonna skip past it for now before I think too hard on that one. What Since we haven't talked about this one yet, Maurice, tell me about what the beginning of Batum was like before the game started, if they shown it.
All right. So the beginning of Batum starts pretty much like this. There's this kid who is pretty much the top player of Batum in the world, which is a game where you throw grenades at each other. That's it. That's the game. It sounds terrible, but it's one of the most popular games in the world. And after after a while, I don't remember what happens, but I do know they kidnap all the people. None of these people are willing participants.
Unfortunate.
He gets kidnapped, still being the best player in the world. They all get kidnapped, taken to this island, and is given a pouch where they open it up, they have little like squares in it, and
Yeah.
each of these squares is a grenade from the game. Some of them got like, the main character, he has timing ones. So he has to time them. Like it counts down from whatever he puts the button to, normally starting at 10,
Yep.
and he's good with those. The deceptive one is a crazy little kid because they have to be. This little motherfucker got black hole grenades.
Bruh.
So they learn that they have like certain little abilities and everything. So like if they hold out their hand and like I think make a fist, they can send out a ping so they can like tell when someone's nearby. This is a complete survival game. Everyone has to kill each other because that's what the producers said they got to do. And people are out here just trying to kill each other. They are straight at each other's throats.
Don't forget the main
And
part about the whole Batum thing. Their friends and families put them up for this.
they did, didn't they? They got paid to
Yeah, hold on.
take them, right?
If I'd like to make sure I ask this question for posterity. Is it like an auction system, very similar to
No,
Hunger Games, where they're just like the collective of a certain area, in this case, the friends and family, choose for a person to participate in the grenade throwing games?
no, it's a lot like what is it called? Squid Games, where the people will be complaining or something about the family member. Some guy will walk up with a flyer to the game and be like, "Hey, sign him up for this. You'll never see him again." And their
Bruh,
families just sign him up for it. Like, I don't like you. I hate you. Get
bruh,
out of here. Like, I think the
this was,
main girl got signed up by her friend because she was jealous the guy that she liked was into the other girl.
bruh,
Yo, it doesn't even have to
Like,
be
Yeah.
your
shit was
family.
sloppy.
bruh.
The
Doesn't
I
even
main
would,
have to
guy
be
of
your
the show, he
family.
deserved it though. He deserved it. He was a piece of shit to his family.
Yo,
They
I'm
were the
still
nicest
distracted by
people.
the fact that someone's friend signed them up.
Batum was
that ain't
crazy.
a real friend, man.
The
That ain't a
two
real
was out the. If you don't learn this till like midway through, so then you start trying to figure out how did some of these people get here. Like some of the early people were like thugs or just maniacs, but
Yeah.
then like the people who are surviving later, you're sitting there like, how did you get here? How did the kid get here? And then
Okay.
you start finding out how they got there, and it's like, oh, you were not a good person.
Yeah.
Yo, this
I
kid's a fucking terror.
No, I think that's good. In fact, uh, thank you for mentioning this element of Batum's story where most or probably none of the characters are participatory, since it a very interesting uh, leverage that a writer can do when making a story like this is adding the mystery of how these games are set up in the first place.
The
Uh,
wake up games like the
that's right.
Danganronpas.
In Dead Man Wonderland, in Dead Man Wonderland and in Future Diaries, the concept is straight up sold to you from the jump. You only, as I mentioned before, the only unwilling participant is the main character, and everybody else is, of course, in the know about what's going on and why they're doing what they're doing. Alice in Borderlands, one of its greatest strengths is that no one knew how or why any of this was happening. All they knew is that if they were lucky to survive their first game, they knew enough that they had to keep living, trying to find a way out. But as a very interesting wrinkle in Alice in Borderlands specifically, you are met with a timer on whatever device that you happen to have, be it your cell phone, a pocket watch, whatever, not a pocket watch, smartwatch, whatever. If you could tell time, it would instantly have a timer of 3 days. If you did not participate in the game within 3 days, a laser from the sky will kill you.
What?
Yep. A laser from the sky will fucking end.
Alice in Borderlands thing is packed with this oncoming dread that comes from, all right, we're thrown into this situation, both the audience and the main character and the characters. We're thrust in this situation with no information, and we slowly are are dripped more and more context for what's going on that naturally pairs with the escalation of not only the games that our characters participate in, but the stakes that comes with them. I know death is a very real thing even for the first game, so what the fuck do you mean by escalating stakes, Thomas? Glad you asked.
Glad you asked, random chat person who didn't say anything.
Gold star.
uh, uh, the escalating stakes ironically doesn't the stakes themselves necessarily don't change the end, in terms of end result. Death is still always the ultimate punishment, but rather the stakes could refer to how likely will it be that all of our characters survive this next encounter. In the beginning of Alice in Borderland, our main character, as I mentioned, was with his two homies in downtown Tokyo when they got instantly zapped into the game world, so to speak. They're perfectly, relatively healthy, average heighted Japanese men around the 20s in the Netflix version. In the manga version, they're teenagers, apparently. But whatever. I don't know that world. I only know this one. Their first game, while absolutely scary and shocking to them, they were able to get out of it relatively easy because of the game itself being a low-level game marked by a various star rating, if I'm not mistaken, and so it was a very low entry game. But also, as they started playing more and more games and encountering more and more people, they do eventually find this lovely, apparently mother who got zapped into the game world without her child, and all she wants to do is go back home. She does not do that. Spoiler.
Oh.
But she ends up being a very nice part of the team, adding a lot of dynamics to them. But it's very fortunate that she has history in the medical field because one of the friends, uh, one of the friends of a resorting character, gets his leg burnt, and
Good
now
times.
this is a wrinkle. How sure we could spend as much of the 3 days as possible resting and relaxing this third degree burn that our homie has, but he's not getting better anytime soon. And still, and even still, there's the incoming dread of what the next game needs to be, regardless of what setup it is. Unfortunately for them, this is the moment where they find the hardest game they could by accident. A 5-star game, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember its rating correctly.
I remember their cards. So it's like 4 hearts,
Oh,
4 clubs, 6 things like that.
oh wait, it's organized. Oh, okay. So I thought it was also by stars. So it's a card rating based on the standard 52 deck of cards.
Yeah, because the number was like I think the difficulty and the suit was the type of game it would be.
Correct. So then 1 was the easiest and 10 was the hardest, if I'm not mistaken. Correct.
If I recall correctly, yes.
Then
And
apologies.
they had a difficult one where people had to die.
Yes. Yes, there's ones where the uh, where they make it like a game of Fall Guys. They have all of the unwilling participants set up teams to kill each other instead of instead of other situations I'll get into. In fact, one of these is, I believe, a 7 game, a 7. I don't remember what suit, but it was
Yeah, I don't remember the
a level
suits.
7 game. This game that they unfortunately found themselves in involved one person needs to die. At least that's what the game rules specify. That someone will die, and only the 4 of them are participants. So it's not like some random mofo could Deus Ex Machina sacrifice themselves. No, it's going to be one of our 4 characters. Our main character, his 2 friends, and lovely woman who just wants to go back home to her child. They play a game of essentially hot potato because of how the game rules work. Where if, I believe if you look at each other, the person who is it transfers the itness to the person that they were looking at.
Oh, that one was a Soul Survivor.
Ah, actually, yes,
Oh,
that is true.
only one could win that one.
So in this game, they the stakes become: can they find a way to somehow disarm the thing around their neck that acts as the mechanism for their death? Very Saw style, actually. And of course, this is one of the strongest piece of writing that I encountered while watching Alice in Borderland, because it was not necessarily about whether or not they can get out of it. For my experience, I knew that likely, likely the three friends would die, leaving our main character alone. But this was a pivotal moment, and for them, even in the midst of this high stress scenario, to really just bond, talk to each other, complete a lot of their um, character together character storyline that they had built up over the course of these episodes, and most importantly, became a pivotal transforming moment for our main character. Once all three of these people he has spent his entire time trying to survive in these games with die in his arms, he doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't do a thing that Yuki from Future Diaries does, and I'm very happy about it, and I'll allude to that later. Uh, this is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that is a particular strong point when death is a certainty, and it's brings a more philosophical question into being about, well, what do we do not only in the face of death, but to the people that we most care about, that are around us during those times. And then, of course,
Also,
if
a
you're
little
the
fun
survivor,
fact.
what do you do after?
Yeah. Also, a little fun fact in Alice in Borderlands. After you're done a game, you go back not to the real world, but to their world, to Borderland, and people are just living there. Like everyone who's a participant is just living there. So there are actual groups of people. They have made societies within themselves.
Uh, this one is actually pretty interesting. If I may, I would love to detail this a little because we
Yeah.
actually talked about
Also, I have the
we talked
thing.
about this point. Yeah,
Spades is a physical game. Diamonds is an intelligence game. Club is a teamwork and balance game. Hearts is a psychological game.
there it is. Okay,
That sounds good.
so let's get a little bit into specifically Alice in Borderland because I've been meaning I've even proposed this entire WAM just to specifically talk about this anyway. Alice in Borderland, this this entire thriller was made by a mangaka, Haru Aso.
Yes, on Netflix, by the way. So if
And
y'all
it's
want to
on
watch it.
Netflix. It is a great thing to watch. I will be much like many other things here on WAM. I will be spoiling a lot of things going on here, but the entire premise of it is that our main character and his friends transported to this, seemingly somehow and inexplicably transported to Borderlands, where only the participants and the game takes place. These games are organized, as Maurice has helped me remember, by the suite of cards. Normally the 52 deck of cards, but in the context of the Netflix series, we don't really get to see any of the face card games except for one, and I'll get into that later.
Hmm.
So 1 to 10 is the difficulty rating, where the suits detail the type of game that a person will participate in. Please remind me and therefore the audience what those suits mean again.
Spades is physical or physique.
Yeah,
Diamonds is intelligence. Club is teamwork and balance. Heart is psychological.
there we go.
And
One
also the number is the difficulty of the game and the reward of how many days you get off.
that is also true. Uh, the particular strength with this setup, as I've mentioned it, is that there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the kind of saw like in almost Fall Guys like community games a person whoever's organizing these events can make to have all of these people have all these people suffer in the greatest or sometimes the most inconvenient ways possible. What this also means in terms of writing for the creator of this story, he had the flexibility of creating very specific scenarios that highlights certain attributes. Obviously, you already heard psychological, physical, intelligence that brings out certain strengths in various characters, not even just our main character. Um, Arisu, our main character, his backstory, very loosely, is that he's a shut-in. that likes to play video games and is really good at playing video games, but that's just it.
Nerd.
He literally is. He literally is just the stand-in for a lot of people's perception of the modern youth. But with this very Kirito style, I have an affinity for video games and complex problem solving. He's actually very good at I believe you said clubs games. No, clubs is the social games. The hearts games.
Hearts.
He's
Mhm.
very good with the psychological games and the hearts games, because that one relies much more on game theory than it does on any other attribute. He's not actually that smart, especially compared to other characters that we'll meet. And he's definitely, as a scrawny 24-year-old, not physically fit to do a lot, but he does, run his ass off when he needs to, if the story calls for it. So very good for him and his overall survivability. Given that he also has morals, which a lot of other people who have been longer here than him, notably, have given up on or never had in the first place, he actually does pretty well on clubs games as well. After this event, where his three friends unfortunately die in a, if it's a Soul Survivor, was that a 7 heart game?
The friends died. I just looked it up. It was actually a low number, which was sad.
Jeez, you just gotta kill your friends. It's not that hard.
Kill your friends. They died. No, it wasn't a low number. The first game they played was a 3.
Right,
They
I know.
played that
As I
they
mentioned
died with a
before,
7 of hearts. Yes.
yes, yeah. As I mentioned before, as they go through, especially these initial couple of episodes for the Netflix series, it's a slow build up as they start with a low number game and unfortunately come to higher and higher games. So after the 7 of Hearts game where his friends die, he then does meet up with a character that he briefly talked to before, but now is begrudgingly
Ooh.
teaming up with. And that's when he gets to also learn about this society or entire,
They live in a society?
they live in a society of particular group of people who have like sequestered off to this fuck all casino on the waterfront. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's based on an actual location, based on filming and such, but it exists. It's over there. Basically, many people who have been here before our main character long since realized out of Borderland is feasible is basically impossible. There is no directly stated method to leave the games. As soon as you're here, you are forced to play within a allotted time limit, as I mentioned before, or else a laser from the sky will come down from you. And they are scarily accurate. You can be standing next to your friend, his time runs out, paste. You're fine. Sure, you got a little blood on you, you got a little blood and guts on you, but you're fine. You are directly next to him.
Also, I learned the conditions to enter to Borderlands.
Ah, yes. What happened?
The conditions to enter Borderlands is, hold on, I lost the page. But one was you have to be clinically ill or had a near-death experience. The other one was dissatisfied with your life.
Oh.
Oh shit, I'm eligible.
Very, very Saw. I realized this is why it's not in America, because then it would just be all of us.
Damn, everybody's there.
Everybody's there. It'd be like Party of in Borderland. Woo!
Damn, how are y'all all so sad?
Have you seen our healthcare system? Anyways,
Don't fucking talk to me. I literally went like, I'm gonna fucking sign up for an appointment with my doctor. Yeah, you can go in October. I'm like, I don't.
I'll be dead by then.
I like really would like to talk to them sooner than that. No.
Yeah. Now, one particular individual had the conjecture idea to collect the cards that are left at the end of games. Since they are based on the deck of cards, and card memorabilia is left after any particular game is completed, presumably collecting these cards will facilitate some kind of event. Hopefully, not one that ends in, like, I don't know, the extinction of all players, but
Why do you say it like that?
some copium, maybe a little.
Why did you say that like that, Thomas?
Oh, because I don't know myself. The Netflix series does not actually cover this phenomenon. Maybe the manga does, since it is a completed body of work. But I digress. This particular character, whose name I forget right now, decided to take that abandoned casino waterfront place and turn it into the headquarters for where him and his organization just commands a bunch of people to go play games of various levels, usually suiting their strengths, because we're trying to succeed here, not fucking mass kill everybody in a cult, and bring back the cards. It's just as simple as that. In exchange, this is great housing, free food, games, and something very important here. Games happen in any sort of building or construction all over this Borderlands version of Tokyo, with the current exception being that waterfront casino. We all know how that's going to end. But I digress. Since it was relatively a safe haven, people were just able to thrive in the community there. Now,
Yes.
we still don't know whether or not that whole card thing works out, as I mentioned before. But we do get to know that this turned this element from just a uh, NTV's Survivor and more of like a. I'm not sure if there's a relevant comparison that I have here, except maybe calling it maybe more so like a reality show now. Since there's a lot more opportunity for downtime and for more importantly for the audience's perspective, learning about what the fuck is going on in this world, and of course understanding any possible rules and expectations to look out for when it comes to having this whole card phenomenon explained to us. Now we're like, now our main character has a goal outside of just being sad his friends died and wanting to go home still. I'm pretty sure the Netflix series only covers how
It's
many
a small
episodes?
it's a small portion of the overarching story that this
Yes, I
is.
want to say it was maybe 10, 12 episodes. I mean, I have Netflix open. I could just look it up right now. Oh, I forgot that Netflix likes to make noise. No, tap away. Oh my god, almost had copyrightable noises. Never mind. Hmm. There is one more thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm trying to find out what it might be now.
Not everyone is always a player in the games. There's sometimes people called dealers
There it
who
is.
help make sure the games run smoothly.
Then we learn about dealers. Up until that point, even when he got to the casino sanctuary, I guess I'll call it, Arisu only met
Oh,
two
the B
times.
side, the
Yes.
B side Redlands.
That okay, the B-side residence, perfect.
Mhm.
Excellent name. Arisu only learned about two very important things when it came to the games. One, that someone has to organize them, but more importantly, that sometimes the only types of people that he met so far were other players, even if they were given special roles compared to just generic participants. In one particular game that featured a sort of hide and go seek in an apartment complex, one of the people participating in the game was given the task of putting on a scary looking mask and a la purge style, just shoot whoever you see, walk
Hiding
around
the
with,
Uzi.
you get to have a gun and you get to shoot whoever you see, and depending on how many people, I think you had to kill a certain number of people or gain points based on how many you killed. um, and the other people, everybody else, like 90% of the rest of the players, they just have to survive. I believe the particular condition was either survive until the morning or find a way to disarm the gunman.
I can look it up for you if you
One is
want.
extremely harder than the other, if I'm remembering these events correctly.
It was a five of spades game, aka tag.
Yeah, there it is. Tag.
Time limit. Let's see. Starting conditions: players must register at 6 p.m. Starts at 6:05. The time limit: survive for 20 minutes.
Oh, it was 20 minutes? Good God.
That's all it took.
Granted, they are men with guns. So, yeah, you don't need to wait that long because 20 minutes is definitely a long time when you're actively fleeing for your life. Now, now that we get to meet some dealers, we get this revealed, I believe, in one very important way. The Some of the side characters that he meets at the beachside resort are a pair of girls who seemingly were just there, sort of like Valley Girl style shits and giggles. They were just, normal teenage girls, of course. And one of them had talked about already being a part of the games, being a participant and begrudgingly trying to survive shit. And then would regularly meet up with her friend after her games were done. But we didn't get to learn too much about that other friend's ongoings at all, why she's here. The natural presumption is that everyone in the show you meet is just an unwilling participant. And while that's still true, some of them are unwillingly setting up these games. After all, these games don't just happen. These games, nor those lasers from the sky, are done with happenstance or from some greater power that is unknowable and unseeable. It's just
Yes.
unknowable.
I mean, I know what they are.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us?
They are citizens, the third participants in these games. Citizens make the game, and they are former winners who decided to stay in front of the people.
Now, why? After all, I already talked about there are only like 4 different types of character personalities in these games, and one of them are the homicidally bored.
Yeah.
Every single time. Hashtag you could never catch me organizing one of these things unless it was just like everyone pat each other's heads for at least 20 minutes. And then I might shoot you with a laser if you decide not to do it. Because what kind of monster does not want to give and or receive head pats? You goddamn degenerate. Oh, now. One final twist before I stop talking about Alice in Borderland in particular is that the beachside resort, while was a safe haven, inexplicably turned into a game. The if I'm not mistaken, Maurice, it turns into the first face card game that we see in the entire series.
If I remember correctly, yes.
I just don't know which face card it was. Let's find out.
I have to double check the games. Nope, it's not a face card. It's the 10. It's the hardest before you hit the face cards.
Ah, there it is.
A strong 10 of hearts.
Yeah. So, in this 10 of heart game, it had all of the unwilling participants of the beachside resort just in there. What was very important was that it was a murder mystery. If I'm not mistaken, there was already a dead body in the foyer of the place, much to everyone's sadness and dismay. And everyone had to try to figure out who the killer was. Amongst the hundreds, there were hundreds of people in this place. After all, it was a sanctuary for players who thought they could be, safe from the gangs in there. And that, whew.
The name of this game is called Witch Hunt.
Yes. It turned into a game of Among Us very quickly. But even more importantly, it turned into one of the...
This shit just danging romping. This is a
Yes,
different
it
game.
it is just hanging Robert at that point. But then also quickly deteriorated into everybody's who's had, various narrative, tense-faced conflicts starting to break down and having them actively turn against each other, usually a little bit under the premise that there's a murderer afoot that needs to be caught, because technically they're all murderers. Technically, a good majority of these people have participated in games where they needed to take someone else's life. So they're not unaware that everybody has the potential to kill in this building. It's just rather they need to find this particular person or else they will die by laser, and no one wants that.
The rules for this one, it was fun. It was figure out who the murderer was and throw them into the fire for divine judgment. There is no penalty for throwing innocent people into the divine fire.
Yep.
You have 120 minutes. Good luck.
Ooh. They do successfully find the individual responsible, the one who did it, very Damon Rappa style. So this I will not necessarily spoil in case you want to watch Alice in Borderland to get to this event yourself. What's more important is that the aftermath is when we learn a little bit more about the dealers and the citizens, and that there are uh, places underground, literally like I believe even lower than sewer levels of the city, and just entire database, almost server hubs, where there are people with the camera work and technology to monitor all aspects of Borderlands, and more importantly, from that area, organize the laser strikes.
Good old citizens.
Yes, so it's is these locations where the citizens are being held and or not being held are hiding since they're actively doing this, and of course, once that kind of discovery is made, the focus of this story shifts yet again from sort of a collect the cards to a finally we have someone who we can punch and find a way to get all everybody home or as many people home as safe as possible if they could um, take down the games. Often, of course, this is not a unique goal within Alice in Borderland. Many of the games tend to have many of these death game survival animes tend to have some character that's like, why can't we all just hug it out? And to be fair, I resonate with those people quite a lot because why would I? Why would I want to be a part of these games at all? These games are stupid.
Why am I even here?
That does bring me actually to my final thing about whether or not if you are an aspiring writer who wants to do something like this, uh, there's this one element that is a not a deal breaker for everyone. This is much more a deal breaker for me. I don't like it when the game has no point other than to make people suffer. In the case of Mirai Nikki, in the case of the Diary, the goal is to become God. The God in question, his name is Deus Ex Machina, his actual name printed on his birth certificate. Deus is a god of time, very specifically. Implies that there's other gods, but none of the other gods show up if they do exist. Everybody, all of the participants, all 13 of them, they make the immediate misconstrued assumption that Deus is a god, the kind of all powerful, I can do literally whatever I want god. Some learn very early on, and some learn later, like our main character, that Deus is only a god of time, manipulating time, and timelines, not a god of everything. Didn't even create anything, honestly. The room that you meet God in, I'm pretty sure was just there, and he just started loitering in that shit. I'm slandering Deus, but my point still stands that his power did not include, very importantly, any of the abilities that a lot of the participants actually wanted. The fourth, the policeman, wanted to cure his son's illness. How would he do that? I mean, technically, you could rewind your son until he got into a state of his life where he was healthier, but that didn't stop the disease because the disease will just come right back if it's chronic and or a part of a person's genetics as opposed to like getting herpes. In the case of our secondary main character, Yuno Gasai, she didn't really want anything that was that she needed god powers for until after she had to kill her timeline's version of Yuki to become god, as she thought, much like many of the other characters do, that Deus's powers included resurrecting the dead. It does not. When they're dead, they're dead. They make it very clear, which also makes a lot of the deaths in this in that particular story quite sad.
Legasp.
Lagasp. But what we see here is that when this particular part of Future Diary story always bugged me because it would have been a much more entertaining thing if a lot of those willing participants actually knew what they were getting into. Of course, there's an elephant in this room, and I'm sure somebody in the chat comments or in the VOD comments will point this out. I believe it's the 13th, the old man who organizes this whole event. He is the one who not only chose the participants somehow, some way, but then also uh, should brown nosed Deus into organizing this tournament in the first place, intentionally without knowing the rules, without knowing many of the logistics of what's going on. But that doesn't necessarily change that anybody could have just inquired because many of them had a direct line to Deus anyway, including our main character. Deus himself is also written to be not kind of actually stupid. If this was God and like the only God I knew of, I'd become atheist.
Yeah.
It's very Deus is a very depressing. It's a very depressing higher being to meet. If that's like your first higher being ever, it's like, damn, did you get kicked out of somewhere? Like Mount Olympus, something, Valhalla.
There's like more
Kind
of
of
you,
an
right?
asshole.
There's you have like a god of space, at least some theoretical compatriot, comrade, counterpart.
Tell
Just
me you have some kind of hot cousin.
tell me anything. So, show me someone else who is more appealing than you. Now, it still gets kind of whack from a storytelling perspective. However, the great twist that that these deaths are permanent does work in a lot of their contexts, but it does make a lot of what they're doing kind of pointless because now many of them are not going to get what they want, even if some of them want it, as I mentioned before, really noble intentions. It's honestly quite sad that there's no tangible reward for the person's perspective. There's always the obvious tangible reward of being God, but the monkey paw, genie type of kind of twist to that kind of situation, however. And that was important.
But it also does get a little weird though.
Yeah.
In Future Diaries, because everything you said is true until the end.
Okay. Well, it's written, animated, and drawn, so fuck it.
Yeah. Like,
Future Diaries. Yes. Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah. I hate it too. So what are we talking about? I'm sure many of you are wondering. Spoilers for Future Diaries. I would not recommend watching it, but don't trust random internet man like myself. If you want to watch it, do, and hopefully you find a way to enjoy it. In Future Diaries, while we just established, that Deus's powers are limited to time shenanigans, timey-wimey, hullabaloo. When both our main characters, when for her backstory is already a successful victor of a game in her own timeline, so she's already a god, but you conveniently lose the powers when you enter a new timeline. I think somehow.
I feel like it was a personal choice.
Might be. Given Yuno's entire personality, sure, I can believe that. Then, when Yuki wins in this timeline and they both become gods, despite Yuno having to die in this timeline in order to do it, she's a god. Death doesn't matter to her. I guess death is actually reversible when you are God, not when you are a humble bumble mortal and God's trying to help you. God can only help themselves. Very depressing. they, in their now in love tandem, decide to create a third universe where they give everyone everything they wanted. So they, the way I would interpret this is that they reconstructed a universe and orders of events to give everybody the success and happy lives that they've always wanted, that motivated them to participate in these games in the first place. I don't know about the old man. I actually don't remember what he got when he gets out of this deal.
Yeah, well,
Oh my! I do love me the missions.
it's
Uh,
crazy. They even go back to the known serial killer.
yes, they gave everybody everything they wanted. Even the vigilante, as I mentioned before, with the weird helmet, being able to take down the serial killer so that he could feel justified in his vigilantiness. Blah 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 blah. Arm terrorist arm chick I mentioned got her arm blown off and got some children. You know, blah 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 blah. But it's like
Blah blah blah.
this is
So
this is wholly different than what the purpose of the games were. Why have them suffer through anything at all if, especially, none of the characters, none of these other side characters and participants who are recreated for this third universe actually get anything meaningful out of their characterizations. Many of them just are happier versions of the very depressed and sometimes one note characters that we met before. Now they're just one note and happy, which is decidedly less entertaining. Excuse me.
I was
Going
muted for that.
Going back to Alice in Borderlands, we don't know what the end game is. We don't know what a victory condition is for this particular story. So there is,
yes, unless you read the manga.
unless you read the manga, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, do what I have. I lead guide others to a treasure I cannot possess currently until I tab away from Twitch.
No tabbing. It's illegal.
It's illegal.
You're gonna drop my face like this.
I kind of want that to be our. This is also why I wanted to bring up Alice in
I own
Borderlands.
this
I
face
am
laser.
going to draw
I do,
Kaiser.
I do want this to become an inside joke between us. Death by Space.
What?
I'm gonna draw Kaiser shooting a mouth laser. Like it's gonna be a Death Star, but it's Kaiser's face shooting a laser.
I do kind of have the I'm fired with laser face kind of going on already.
Angry laser, I love it. Mm.
Animated so that we can make it an emote.
So there's currently, out of these two examples that I've gone in depth about, there's two different potential ways a writer will want to resolve this story. Hopefully, in a way that could also be entertaining and thorough. I believe is a word I can use here. While Future Diaries is not is not a great example of the thorough side of things. Alice in Borderlands open mystery does lean into a lot of interest that continues to drum up after the events of the Netflix series in particular, and of course, as a very important consequence, because the manga finished before the show was ever made, people can always just pick up where they left off with another medium and continue the story to see if it does end up having not only a point, because after all, we don't know what the point of those games are yet, but also some sort of reward that comes from participating in these games outside of, yes, I get to continue the cycle of abuse and violence by being a citizen. This brings me to one last example that I haven't talked about up until this point because I know very little about it outside of some general context. The creator of Death Note, the writer in particular, has made many a series along with his cohort, the artist that was also known for doing Death Note. Their most recent project together was a show called Platinum End, which is a survival death game. This one involves angels, for some reason, choosing 10 god candidates, gave them superpowers in the form of a glowing, prismatic white arrow and red arrow, respectively. And they said, all right, go off, fuckers. The other rules of the game, if I'm not mistaken, is that the red arrow is the one that kills, and I believe the white arrow removes memories. The white arrow is
Yo,
decided
that's way less powerful.
right. The white arrow is decidedly not as powerful as the red one. That is the most important thing. Let me.
This one kills you. This one makes you do your taxes on time.
No! No!
That is
This one increases your tax bracket without increasing your income.
this one increases your sperm or egg count. This one kills you.
This one
No!
just makes you mildly horny. Not like super horny, but enough to where you're like, yeah, it's there.
Anyway.
This one gives you that awkward chode or awkward wetness in very unfavorable situations, like when you're sitting on a
I'm calling
train.
the police.
This one straight up gives you cancer, though. Don't touch this one.
Yes, keep this one.
Like, you're gonna have to, like, I know I gave you this arrow. You're gonna want to get, like, a hazmat suit to use this. Like,
Don't
even
even
drawing it is enough to give you skin cancer.
Don't even look at this one. This one's pretty bad.
It's made
No.
out of a solar eclipse. You need those special glasses.
No,
Anyway.
no, the whole thing, and I said it was 10, it was actually 13 because I guess because 13 is an unlucky number in Asian cultures. I have no idea why.
Actually, 13 isn't unlucky in that culture. The number
Oh, it's
4
4.
is.
Sorry, there's a different association here, and I'm trying to remember what it is. But yeah, there's another group of 13, much like Future Diaries. They're all designated, given an angel that bestows to them powers, usually in the form of a white arrow, a red arrow, or wings, depending on how strong that angel that got assigned to you is. A combination of all three. And the goal is simple: take out the other competitors. One notable twist is that death does not need to be the only way to get them to get any particular player to leave the game. I believe they could just willingly choose to forfeit, as well as also use the white arrow, if I remember its abilities correctly, to maybe mind control people. It's hard to while I'll keep looking up what the hell these arrows do.
Yes, I've not seen Platinum in, so I don't really have the information. I don't even know where to start looking besides the wiki. It was not that entertaining.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got the arrow colors and powers mixed up because I see red thing and I'm scared. It's the white arrow that is the kills. Pardon me. The red arrow is called love, and it makes any person fall in love with the person who got hit with it for 33 days.
That's way less powerful than just yanking a bit.
Also, didn't they didn't everyone not get a kill arrow? Only like a certain few.
So I mentioned before that depending on how strong the angel you're assigned to is, they are given a combination of a red arrow or a white arrow or wings, and some mix of the three. So I believe there are 3 grades: first grade, second grade, third grade, and you can imagine that the third grade is the one that gives you all 3 of these Johns. Whereas the first grade gives everyone wings, and the second grade gives either a white or red arrow. So not everyone gets to kill.
Yeah, or just kind of like Yagami got all
Not
3.
everyone can make people fall in love for 33 days. I don't know why 33 either. Maybe that's when Jesus died, or whatever. But
Maybe this is one of those moments where we're attempting to draw symbolism from something, and the guy's just like, I just like threes.
I mean, honestly, this is the writer of Death Note. He has gone on many a record stating that some things are just things he made up just to keep the ideas flowing, and other things are very intentional callbacks to socio-political issues that he feels that he wants to speak on with his work. We talked about this before when I talked about the Death Note one shot and how he added Donald Trump as an actual character to that story. So
I'm gonna headcanon that he just likes the number 3.
just has like a shrine dedicated to 3.
Well, think about it.
Look.
1, 3, 3 days.
Yes.
If you turn a 3 on its side, it looks like a bum.
Now, unfortunately, this headcanon does get a little funky because the red arrow, the love arrow, while it lasts for 33 days, it can only affect a maximum of 14 people. So, ooh,
Fuck!
just one above the 13th. Anyways, one of the ways the story concludes is that our main character is still one of those many people who are like, please stop killing each other, guys. And then many of the other participants are like, no, fuck you. I will try to kill you right now, actually. A lot of hullabaloo happens in between this and the final confrontation that is between himself, the main character, and this very. If L from Death Note was ugly, older Japanese man scientist.
Oh.
I say it in that particular way because he acts very similar to L, but just a little more.
Wait, which one?
I believe, despite consorting with actual angels, he is a hardcore atheist and a believer in scientific, and a believer in the
Oh,
power of science.
the superhero.
No, not the superhero, because the superhero is the conventionally
I'm Super
correct.
Saiyan.
Yeah, he's a crazy one.
Yeah. But the scientist, he literally wears a lab coat, has glasses, and shaggy, almost fucking Dr. Frankenstein style hair. He is a hardcore atheist. Still up until the final confrontation of the story, straight up doesn't believe in angels. Straight up doesn't believe that these angel gods business are anything outside of scientific explanation.
They're obviously based off of the scientific principle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that, Chief.
The
Whatever.
scientific principle of me shitting my pants. Help.
Listen, he's a hard headed individual who is trusting his guts, even though his guts are wrong in like almost an objective sense. And while it looked like confrontation was inevitable physically between him and the main character and some of the other surviving god candidates, he does reasonably actually just get convinced that what he wants and him participating in the game is not worth it, especially in the sense that he didn't really want to kill anybody either. So they decide to all forfeit, allowing the last participant, a young little boy who said that he wanted to be God to help the world. They just decided to let him win and be God.
And then
wow.
he was the liar and he killed all of them.
No.
There's hesitance in that no, Thomas.
It's because not only does he become God, he experiences what theoretically none of us will until maybe we end up in a similar type of game and end up becoming God ourselves. He gets hit with the infinite knowledge of the universe all at once.
Damn, that's going to a child.
And he becomes almost immediately paralyzed.
That kid's fucking dead.
I mean, he can't be dead. He's God now.
Nah, that kid fucking died. That's a corpse now. Can I be God?
But one of the things that immediately happens to him is that he also learns that, like, he needs to, if I'm remembering this correctly, he needs to remake the universe because it's currently just fucked beyond any practical repairing that even within his own power he can do.
Damn, give him the Franklin Richards. All right, child, rebuild the universe.
Again, this is the same writer as Death Note, so you already know what kind of esoteric and almost what is the word, macabre point he's trying to make with this.
I don't know what point he's trying to make with this. I'm confused.
Yes, I always be granted. I may be misremembering some of these details correctly. I am trying my best to look up what on earth actually happens.
Once again, what are you doing? My best.
What are you doing? Oh Lord.
But yes, these are some examples of the writing in survival games with a couple of plot twists and story ideas and
Here's a fun little thing we can do with this kind of topic. As consumers, and as people who attempt to write things and create things in general, what is a piece of advice that you would give to someone attempting to write this sort of story?
Stop that one.
I think the best piece of advice taps into what I'm already talking about when it comes to this ending. It could be about no matter what this game is, have it be something actually tangible that does directly benefit any sort of goal your characters participating in that game have. So they can be as varied as you can try to make them. But in the case of like, if it's a great cash prize at the end, that does suit the needs and motivations for all sorts of character actions, and makes it believable enough that like, yeah, winning is better than dying, and is also better than leaving the game. Squid Game's trying to do this, as you may know, as a very recent cultural example where there's just a large pot of money at the end. Uh, but we'll hopefully get into a little bit of why even I think Squid Games is not that great for personal character motivations and how you build high stakes drama from that particular element.
Yes.
Yes.
If I had to give a piece of advice, besides the normal, treat your characters with respect. Um, be careful with the villains, like the antagonists and things like that they have to go up against, because sometimes you could just have antagonists that are just the words I want to put it is just so either unlikable or just not noticeable to the point where you just didn't need to write them at all for the hero.
Yeah.
Like in Fate, one of the main antagonists is Shinji. Shinji is one of Shiro's friends. Shinji's a fucking clown. No one likes him.
Wow,
I'm
you hate to
surprised
say
he can even
that.
be called. I'm surprised he can even be called a friend. Honestly.
Yeah, like Shinji is just fucking terrible. And frankly, him being in the story added nothing besides, hey, we got to hit Shinji again. Woo! When you have
Yeah.
characters like Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, fantastic antagonist. Fucking so arrogant that the stick up his ass is coming out of his mouth. Love Gilgamesh. But then you like have to pair Gilgamesh up with Shinji. It's like, haha, I have Gilgamesh on my side. Say anything to me ever again, and I will literally turn you inside out.
I will actually kill you.
Yes, they've constantly threatened Shinji throughout the entire series, and they just keep bringing him back. And I'm like, we don't need this unlikable slime ball. You can have likable villains. Fucking Frieza's a likable villain, and Frieza's racist.
Damn monkeys.
That's all he says. Just to fans, to anyone. Frieza don't care. If you ain't Frieza's race, you ain't no race.
You lost the war.
And now he's black.
Does that mean you get to win the war now?
God damn it, I can't.
No, it means he's actually got a black form. So Golden Frieza is Black Frieza. So now he gets to have the Hennessy. He got the people are putting him with the hats and
I don't know what you're trying to say anymore. You broke.
I'll show you a list of pictures of new Frieza later.
New Frieza.
But yes, just be careful with the villains, and also be careful with your heroes. As Thomas says, and as a lot of other people says, no one likes Yuki.
Yuki.
Well, yeah, I don't like
Like,
you either, but for me, I thought you said no one likes Yuna.
no, no one likes Yuki. People love That's just
Lots of
Thomas.
people love you know.
The people who like
Oh,
are just horny.
Like you
Damn.
can talk.
I don't like you, no.
Well, I don't like you.
Welcome, Bree. Hello, Jodo, Jin. That's my friend Bree. So everyone say hello.
Hello.
Oh
Hello.
no.
You're approaching me, Jotaro.
So yeah, we to give you a nice brief cap of what we've been talking about. We are discussing various survival games, death games, the type of genre that you'll see from Future Diaries, Alice in Borderland, Dead Man Wonderland, Squid Games. This particular type of story, its uh, benefits, its drawbacks, some interesting applications of this type of story from the examples that I've already listed, and a few more that we started to talk about. And right now, we're talking about a particular piece of advice we would want to give any writer for this kind of story, and even for ourselves, honestly.
Oh, definitely for myself. Number one, if you do one where it's a free for all type thing, character interaction is great. Like break periods where characters can make either allies who they have to kill later or enemies who they have to kill later. People enjoy that. People like, shockingly, people like characters talking.
My God.
That's all Final
It,
Fantasy
That
14 is.
actually
So yeah,
does
I agree.
come to my biggest piece of advice. Um, survival games actually fall into a weird, not exactly genre, but they fall into a category of story wherein your main character is not the most important character to making sure the story is entertaining. You need to put a lot of focus into the side characters. Because if you're going to be a coward and you're going to have your main character win, and you're going to kill all the other people, the main thing with killing the side characters is that we have to feel it. We have to care that these people are gone. Because if you just have someone show me, I'm Joe, and then you drop a rock on them, it's just like, well,
Joe. Later, Joe.
I guess that happened. What did that do for
Yeah.
the story? Well, the main character got one step closer to victory. That's not what you
A,
want. Like one of
a
the.
good.
Mhm.
Go,
No,
go
you
on.
go. No, you go.
No, no, you have an example. I have a different thing.
My example is actually going to be Squid Games. A lot of the side characters are pretty well characterized. They have their own thing, and they make their own mistakes, including one guy who straight up just gets robbed. Like, not like in a game, like, oh man, they robbed it. No, it was a game where you had to collect rocks, and the other guy went, I'll take this to the guy and say you won. And then he took the rocks, went up to the one guy, and went, I won these.
Got him.
Yeah, you just like dumbfounded, like, oh no.
But those
It,
were my rocks. And then the
but
guy was
that,
just walking up to him with a gun.
but that scene wasn't really to illustrate the fact that he was dumb. It was to illustrate the fact that he trusted that man enough with his to walk away with his literal life, and that man
The fool.
betrayed him. It was
I'll
more
take
for the other guy falling from where he was at the top to I will do anything, including destroy my friends to survive. That was the
Exactly.
illustration of that scene, and that was completely fucked up. So that look on his face wasn't dumbfound like stupid, but rather, why would you do this to me? To me?
betrayal.
You were
Dumbfounded A
friends.
to Brute.
It's the, it's
Yeah,
the,
it's
oh my
like
God, do this.
it's like if Maurice shot Kaiser in the back to win a Pokemon tournament.
Jesus.
For Pokemon, Maurice?
I choose you.
That would literally be my only response, just like for Pokemon?
For
I choose you.
prestige?
Apocalypse.
Prestige?
This tournament decides whether cat girls exist. Any sacrifice is mandatory.
But another good example of have your characters talking in a death game. Uh Fate Zero, the meeting of the three kings, when Gilgamesh, uh Alexander, and Arthur all had a conversation around wine. You got to meet one of the you not only did you get to meet two competitors of our main character, King Arthur, we also got to see that we had a small ally in Alexander and a complete foe inside of Gilgamesh. But they were cool enough to come have a conversation. Gilgamesh talked trash about Alexander's wine, so he bought his own, and they came to an understanding that King Arthur was like, "I'm here for the people." That's stupid. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. The people are here for us. If you die for the people, who's going to lead them? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're stupid. You're stupid. And I'm like, damn, leave her alone. And that just they allowed us to meet more characters. Like literally, um, he just pulled up in his chariot filled with oxen through the front door. It was like, I'm here to drink. Came in a fucking too tight t-shirt and just bought a keg of wine. Without that moment, people probably would not like Alexander Death.
A big thing to remember, just in
Or
storytelling in general. While the
let
beach
the characters talk.
episode is given a lot of shit, in some stories, that is the only way that some authors can bring themselves to allow their characters to talk. Don't get to
Looking at
that
you,
point.
Avatar.
Just let them speak. Let
Also,
them
still do it
use
during the
their
beach episode.
words.
Also, let them do it during the beach episode.
Now, Roz, did you have a particular piece of advice you'd want to give aspiring writers to Death
Even
Battle?
just as a consumer.
The only thing that kept coming to mind was that episode of Family Guy where Peter or whoever asked Joe a question and his only answer was "good, don't." It's it's not my those types of shows are not my cup of tea because they all tend to be super grim dark and it's just misery after misery and even at the end there's no form of triumph or hope. It's just like, oh, this is life afterwards, because how do you live with yourself in what you had to do after you do the death game? I
The
don't see it like
$2.5 billion help.
no.
No, it's a Batman situation where it's like even after you win, oh my god, I'm so sad. I have to
Because
fan, and the weather's so warm. Alfred, my new manservant, fan me with my money. Oh,
Oh, it's so
because
terrible. The loss
and
of
also,
life. How would
and
the
also,
economy
fetch
recover?
fetch me my new clean water from my privately bought water source and a bottle of antidepressants that I'm now able to afford because I have more money I have more money than people have insurance. Please,
I
I need
have
all of
more
these
money than literally God.
I'm so depressed with my millions.
no,
Oh
because
my god.
sorry, excuse me. I will tell you
It's so
the
mad it
exact
burnt.
moment. I will tell you the exact moment in the exact movie that killed the death game genre for me.
Okay.
It was a movie on Netflix called The Circle.
All right.
There it is. I
Yeah.
knew
There
you
it
were going to.
is.
Well, here's the thing with the circle. You didn't get a prize and it wasn't voluntary.
It wasn't voluntary. The only prize you got was living, but it played out pretty similar to a death game.
Oh, yeah,
But it was
definitely a death
more
game.
of a political death game where you had to keep voting each other out. So that had nothing to do with your own skill other than your ability to manipulate others to achieve your own goal, which we saw
That's
when that
true.
guy killed a baby at the end of the fucking movie.
To
So
be fair,
yeah,
the baby wasn't going to win either.
Maybe
I
that
know
was
the
the
baby wasn't gonna live.
Wait, what's
maybe
the
maybe that was the real prize all along.
Well,
Yo,
no, no, see. No, see, here's the thing. The baby was still inside the dead mom.
Yeah,
Been
the mom
dark.
was pregnant. He killed the mom. Didn't realize that he would also have to kill the baby. And then all you see is here is the baby's heartbeat, and then the fucking zap. He killed the baby, and then he's walking out at the end. I was like, nope, I'm done. These movies are the fucking worst. The worst
I
characters
want.
always last the longest. The bullshit you have to do to even win is fucking ridiculous. It'll take even the best characters and turn them into a piece of shit, and then they have to live with themselves and what they did afterwards. It's just too much for me. I can't do it. I hate
It's
this
too
genre.
much
I
for me.
absolutely fair. Absolutely fair.
I need the cut. I need the cut where the baby is the one that crawls out of the mom and gets with all the other people.
Bruh. It is
Morbid points aside.
no, it is actually a very important thing to bring up, and possibly a flaw that I didn't bother bringing up during that particular segment. It's hard to make a story like this where there's a, as I mentioned before, when it came to the prize, a sense of accomplishment, but even in this broader context, a sense of fulfillment when we're watching it, other than just seeing, hey, how do people handle this game, and maybe even a dark thought as a any particular audience member, case by case, how would we handle it if we were in these? Which is not fun in the long run. It's not necessarily the ubiquitously appealing type of content that that makes other stories really popular and fun to play with. Like this is a fairy tale where almost no one dies and we just get to sit around, eat, drink, and do magic all day. No, this is Squid Games where we have to play really crappy versions of children's games with some with a weird fucking doll out by the tree in the distance.
Singing the song to me.
So I get it. I think that's a fun challenge. I think making a survival game, even with characters dying, one that does have some sort of triumph at the end. Unfortunately, not in the way that Future Diaries thinks it accomplished that goal, because it did not. It just left us all
But it did
deeply,
not.
deeply hollow inside. But I do think an attempt to do it could work out well. But that requires a lot of intention when it comes to how you want to write that story, because they cannot just be done haphazardly. You can't just make a game, no matter how fun the game seems to be to see others play, and then go, all right, how do I make a happy ending out of this? I think the happy ending needs to be made first. You orchestrate the events from there.
But that's the thing. I don't think there is a version of this where you can make it upbeat or happy, other than if you do it like Zatch Bell, but that's more or less basically for kids rather than adults.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, that spell is still traumatizing.
True.
Like, especially when Zeno beat the overloving shit out of ropes, then tortured it, and then sent it back home.
I was a little afraid of Brago, I ain't gonna lie.
Well,
That boy was a menace.
That's that child soldier right there.
No.
How does Batum end? For our example here.
The anime
They rise up
season?
against the creator, the people who run this shit.
Yeah, fight the machine.
But he does win the game first.
Boo. Fight the machine before you win, coward.
Yeah, I'm about to say that is a bit of an undercut. It's like, oh my god, we took down the establishment as I fan my millions of dollars, making me the new establishment. Oh man, being a revolutionary is so hard.
That's what we refer to as a coup.
It's like, ah, yes. This millions I will never share with anyone else. This is the payment in terms of, I think in legal speak, this is my payment for emotional damages.
Emotional damage.
Like even Batum was a little annoying for me to get through, even though I like some of like the grenade battles because of the tactical stuff in it. Like because of some of the because whenever you get stories like this, they always decide to go like super heavy with certain backstories, especially the girls. And it's not a good look. It's definitely not a good look.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even gonna talk about what happened to the main female character. Like everything about her story was just fucked up.
That's I remember hearing about a little bit about this. It is definitely sad.
She'll be fine.
She'll be fine. Another interesting exploration, actually, when it comes to some of the more grounded and realistic, even though none of them sound that realistic, games is what we alluded to when it comes to the establishment, the powers that be, who orchestrates the events and why. Uh, it could be a potential angle to explore how to create a happy ending, not just with taking down the establishment, but maybe even if you want to be this type of writer, address the socio-political issues that accompany it and offer a peaceful and helpful alternative that totally will not be political propaganda, according to your naysayers. But it's too late. You've already thought of a happy ending, and I want you to stick to it. So, I would definitely say, and this is what a little bit of Alice in Borderland seems to be alluding to, taking down the powers that be, with the
Yes.
cliffhangers left by the end, the last episode on the Netflix series. It definitely seems like trying to stop the games wholesale and prevent them from ever happening again is a very tangible, happy ending scenario for everyone involved. Of course, that doesn't, bring back your homies from the dead, but it does stop other homies from the future being dead, which is a plus.
There is one survival game that I know that has a pretty good happy ending. Nothing too grim dark happening to people or anything like that. And a lot of people get their little happy endings, and that would be Eden of the East.
Right. Tell us a
Like,
little
just
bit of what.
imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. For Eden of the East, just imagine you get a cell phone in the mail. You get a phone call, you answer it, and if someone tells you to save Japan,
Shit. All right. Say less.
and what they do is the best way I could put it is they give you $100 million to do with whatever you want. I don't remember the actual amount, but it was a lot of money. You can do whatever you want. You just call, like you just use your cell phone. You'll call your uh female phone operator, tell her what you want, and she'll get it done if you have the money for it. And then she'll deduct the money from your account. We follow the main character. We start the entire anime with the main character as an amnesiac. He has no idea why he's in front of the White House naked with a cell phone.
this is
When we
also
follow him, hmm?
this is also coincidentally the beginning of Hangover 4.
Yes. Um, so you follow him and the new friend that he made. I cannot remember either of their names. I got to look it up. On the journey to figure out what the hell's going on. How did he enter this tournament where if you run out of money, you are eliminated? Someone called the Eraser will come and eliminate you. We don't know what that means until later on. And how do you what does save Japan mean?
Save Japan.
We're getting it
Very
done.
much. Someone named Mr. Outside just gave you a shit ton of money and said save Japan, but you have to do it better or before the other 11 participants. There's 12 of them, I believe. The standard number. And P.S. These phones can do anything. Like he gave himself amnesia by asking the phone, and it had the power to do it because we have amnesia devices in the world. Oh, fucking no.
It's scary.
Oh, her name is Saki. His
Yes,
name is
our two
Akira.
main characters are Akira Tazikawa and Saki Morimi.
Yes. It is. It is not only is cute as hell. This is a cute, fun little anime, but it really goes hard on saving Japan. Like his whole Akira's main thing is that he likes to ask others for help, and that's great. But it gets to the point where he can't do that anymore. Not on these message boards with these people in the world. Like he goes online and says, like he goes on the Reddit pretty much and says, "Hey guys, what's the best way to stop a missile crisis from hitting the city?" And then they're like, "All right, Jose." I need to figure out the best one from all these. And I'm like, I don't know if we can trust these people.
I
These are randos on the internet, buddy.
mean, he asked the people, and some of the people have responded.
Oh no, there's a bunch of response, but she
This
got to
prompt
filter out the dumb ones.
to make sure I heard you correctly, this prompt to save Japan is something that all of the participants are tasked with doing. Yeah.
Yes, technically.
Of course, with the technical exceptions of withstanding, this inherently makes our story something akin to the very real, almost logistical question of how do we improve the livelihood of our countrymen, of the quality of life that we already have for not only ourselves
Yeah.
but for everyone around us.
Well, they
Which is
get
a very hard
10
thing for
billion
any
yen.
one person to do, let alone someone in Japan with a cell phone and 10 billion yen.
And their job is to save Japan. Some of them come up with different ideas. One of them's like, if I attack Japan, they'll strengthen their military might so they won't be attacked anymore. Fucking foolproof. I'm sitting over there, what the fuck?
Yes, I must hurt the Japan to strengthen the Japan. This is Doomfist. This is only through conflict can we
Yeah.
evolve. No, motherfucker, you're just a terrorist.
One of them was just wasting their money on like not gambling, but like paying back debts and things like that, and
Other people's debts
actually
or their
killing
own
some
debts?
people. Hmm?
Other people's debts or their own debts?
Their own debts.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. One of them, I think, opened up a nice little hospital. That was nice of them. One of them was just killing people. Like,
Yes, I must. At least what they'll probably did they say to themselves in any way, shape, or form they must weed out the criminal element.
yeah. One of them
Every
was not fully a serial killer, but kind of a serial killer. He called himself the Johnny Hunter.
What the hell's a jump?
One of y'all
Oh no,
got it.
John, run!
What she would do is she would kidnap men and cut off their Johnnies.
Okay. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I see.
Yes.
I
She was
don't
the
like what you're
CEO
putting
of the
down.
company already. Yeah, neither did I, but she did it. And she has the money.
She
Like
has
all
the
she
motor.
has to do is call into the cell phone and say, "Bring me a number."
Bring me a
And
man. Any
and
man?
someone
Yes.
someone will just get a man and bring it to her. This like literally one of them was a cop and he was being harassed by people who he owed money to. So he just put out a cigarette, called Jose, and said, "Kill these two assholes." And then a police car slowly just pulled up from down the street. And he just put up his finger and said, "Bang, bang," and they both got shot in the back of the head. Then the cop car just pulled off.
It must be
That's how
wild.
quick this power works.
Yeah, it might be. It must be wild living in this version of Tokyo, and you just like you're going about your day. You're bagging some groceries. You're working at the nearest the Smart Mart. I believe that's a brand in Japan. And you imagine that like the person that you're ringing up is just this nice curmudgeonly old lady, nothing too unassuming about her. But then you get a call, seemingly from your work phone, and you're like, "Kill her." Oh, I guess I gotta. Bang. Next.
Hmm.
Bang.
Get away with it and everything.
Outrageous.
It
How did,
was a good show.
you mentioned before that this has a happy ending. Reiterate one more time for me. How did this story conclude?
So the anime concluded with our main character, Akira, stopping another terrorist attack of someone launching fucking missiles at Japan. His counteraction to it was to fire missiles at the missiles.
uh, yeah,
It worked.
I know. I assumed.
And then he decided to, for some reason, he told Jose to spend the rest of the money to make him become king of Japan, and that's how he'll save Japan. And
By,
also, I think he deleted his memories.
by turning Japan into a fucking monarchy or dictatorship, as it's not that
Uh,
far off.
Both.
yeah. But then I think he erased his memories, and then we had to follow up with 2 movies to finish it.
That
If you,
what do you know what happens in those movies?
I believe I I didn't watch the last movie, but from looking it up like a while ago and probably looking it up now, I think he succeeded in becoming king of Japan and definitely hooked up with Saki because they was like all friendship through the first one with like slight romantic tension, and then like
I mean, when he became king, that resume looked
yeah,
kind of stacked.
yeah.
Like, damn,
Also, it's kind of weird
you have
when
a
one of
heart.
the other players, yeah, one of the other players is the host of the game, as they do.
How, how do you host something like? Was that his money or their money they were spending?
Yeah, apparently old white, not white, just old people have a lot of money.
What the hell? What is going on? Is that
He's
their version of the white man? Just the ones in power?
the aristocrat.
The former samurais? Because Bushido period wasn't that long ago. They probably were like direct descendants of the shoguns.
Yeah.
Good God.
Mr. Outside was the 12th person. And I'm like, are you actively playing the game or are you just chilling?
Yeah. That is fascinating.
But yeah. And also, getting erased did not mean you actually got murdered. It's the you'll get a call and all your memories will be erased. So you'll be like, what am I doing here? And then like
Entirely
just your
silly
memories.
you.
Like what if like you worked for like someone worked for you and they came in, Mr. Jackson, we need you to file these papers. Who are you? This is no time for games, you son of a bitch. I need you to sign these fucking papers. You always playing
sign,
around.
sign right here, sir, with your initials here, 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 and here, as they point to the various spots on the contract with the gun they're waving in my face, and I'm like, okay, no need to get pointy. I know the signed a contract without reading the terms. I've signed up for iTunes before. Here you go.
Here you go. We're done here. But yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. That does seem a little. The solution does seem honestly outlandish. It definitely seems more for entertainment purposes and maybe even for a willingness to not like actually tackle Japan's systemic issues with any copious amount of money that that these characters can afford. Or maybe that's why he needed to be king to get even more exorbitant amount of money to enact whatever the writer would want to do with the implications that the story provides.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, now that we have at least 3 examples of these games being set up by old white men, or old Japanese men, what
Just
is
old men.
what is going on with old timers? Just general fascination of trying to kill the youth or attain
Boredom,
ultimate power,
jealousy.
or attain ultimate power by killing the youth. What's up with
it's,
this?
it gets bored being old. Sometimes you just want to see some people kill each other.
Do some crochet. Go roller derbying. Like literally, just crash your body against other fellow old people. That is very entertaining.
I mean, I can crochet a knife, but it's not going to kill anybody.
I'm sorry, I'm now picturing old Roz with a knitted knife. Just like walking up to the fucking nurses, just it's just fuzz, so it's
Oh.
folding.
Mr.
Oh.
Shadow Monarch, please put that away.
You're
Mark
dead
did.
now, Squid Games, and then runs away.
Or at least tries to.
You know what?
So,
When I get old, I want to be an assassin with my crochet knife, going around assassinating my nieces and nephews.
Jesus.
Not actually killing them, but just shelving around.
Yes,
As I said, I was thinking like, but why?
I know what you meant, but
Because
it's still not a good look.
the idea that Granddad just snuck up on me while I was playing Call of Duty Super Warfare, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Super Warfare?
that is.
I mean, I could keep my mind sharp and destroy them in Call of Duty for the rest of their lives.
Maurice, you have
Eventually, the
actually.
hand-eye coordination does decay.
I didn't
Not
even
if
think
you
about.
play games; it helps with that.
I didn't even think about this
Studies
angle,
show.
but this makes so much sense. Instead of playing a more physical, actual real life version, are there any? Uh, I as I say this out loud, I literally realized Fortnite's a death game.
I was about to say, are you about to ask me, are there any Battle Royale games
Yeah,
Sword
that are
Art
better than the
Online.
they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But this does
Fortnite,
this does bring up a
PUBG.
nice, mildly adjacent topic of conversation. How how do we feel about the battle royale style of games? Fortnite, PUBG, Call of Duty, and various others of its own.
I'm
As come
happy it's
I
dying.
out. You're happy that you die, so you
No,
don't have to play.
no. You misheard me. I said
Yeah.
I am happy that it's dying.
In some ways, yeah.
No, it in the literal sense, everything, and its mother was a battle royale, and
Yeah.
now half them have rolled back on the battle royales, and the other half are stagnating. Like fucking Fortnite can add whatever more characters it wants. It's not what it
right now,
was a couple years ago. Fucking
it's not what it
PUBG's.
was when it fucking started.
I don't mean in that sense. I mean monetarily.
Hmm.
When it started, it was a base building game. It was supposed to be a horde shoot 'em up, but they went, PUBG's doing real well, and they literally gimped code from PUBG to the point they got sued.
Yeah.
But
The best plan ever, and it fucking worked.
people don't want to talk about that anymore because of how much money it made and how much their kids like playing Fortnite. I don't give a fuck.
Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids. Listen, I am all for kids having hobbies. I am less for when kids get hobbies that they then shove down my fucking throat.
Right?
Hey, look at me do this dance. It's like fucking. That literally is too much. Everyone can. Okay, not everyone can floss. 87% of people can floss.
Still a very
It's
generous
not
number.
impressive that you can move your hands one direction and your hips the opposite.
Very, very,
And
very generous
so
number.
when a kid does that for like 5 seconds, I would go, cool. And I start to look away. They go, no, you haven't seen it all. And then they just keep doing the same fucking floss. It's like, is there more?
No.
And when they get done, it's like, oh, you just had to watch for that amount of time. It's like, leave.
Leave.
And then we're like, oh yeah, play the game. You play the game, and the first person you meet just builds a 5 fucking story apartment building with a fucking indoor spa. And you're sitting there like, sitting there with a gun, like, what the fuck are
The
you?
indoor spa is a very important component. Yes.
Just like
It
fucking.
really makes me wonder how good they would have been during the actual zombie horde thing.
Yeah! Fuck, there are a lot of people that are really good at what Fortnite was supposed to be, but no longer will be. I'm pretty sure they literally just stopped all development of the game part. But you know, PUBG's already dead. I think the mobile game actively has more players on it now than the
Actually,
computer version.
PUBG is only dead in the West. In Korea and I think China, it's still incredibly big, and that's the only reason the game is still running.
Koreans still play. Oh god, what is it?
StarCraft.
Yeah, they still play
Craft.
StarCraft.
Two.
Yes, they still play. Hey Google, when was StarCraft 2 released?
StarCraft 2.
The real question is, hey Google, where's StarCraft 3?
It
It's
was
never
released
coming
in
out.
2010.
That's
And also, StarCraft is definitely pulling a fucking Half-Life.
that's old. That's old. Yeah.
But
Those your Skyrim. You ain't gonna stop.
but the
Damn
point
it!
I'm
Can we
trying to get
please tell
to,
Skyrim to fuck off?
the point I'm trying to get
No.
to is the whole throw in 100 plus people into a thing and just have them shoot at each other. It's old news at this point, old man. Get with the times.
Yeah.
Even
My need
fucking
for it comes from Apex.
there are some that are still withstanding of it, and obviously it's basically Apex, Fortnite, and Warzone at this point.
I want Apex to go away so I can get my Titanfall back.
No, Apex ain't going anywhere.
It isn't.
I
The
know.
battle
Man,
royales just
they
make so much money.
they took
There are,
they took the clean fluid movement of your Titanfall and said remove the mechs. Just gun.
I mean, the movement is still
Like, it,
pretty fluid.
like, just give me my Titanfall
Oh, sorry.
3.
I
You
meant
have the money from Apex.
right. I meant the particular phrasing was that they only kept the movement and got rid of the mechs.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misheard.
It's all right. Maybe if we campaign hard enough, maybe if WAMM starts lobbying votes. I mean, we literally did this with the Mega Man Battle Network collection. If we lobby enough votes just by talking about it, not actually making a petition or anything, maybe Titanfall can come back.
I could post Facebook ads for it, but they banned me from making ads.
You gotta stop posting all that porn.
Put the boobs back in the clothes.
You got banned.
I
Like
posted
I would
one
do
video.
ads, but I got banned.
One video of a guy in his bed checking his phone, and then I got fucking banned from posting it live
Clearly, he was
streaming.
watching porn.
Yeah, unfortunately. It was a suggestive video. What can we say?
Yes, he looked super provocative in his tank top and
Listen,
sweat
beds are
pants.
hot.
Huh. I
Stupid
am
shadow man.
I am fairly certain we've exhausted the all of the topics that I wanted to cover when it came to this genre of story. Is there anything else you would like to add, Maurice?
Nope. I went through multiple different survival games. We got through some pitfalls of the genre, mainly the fact that it's predictable, not his own fault, not of his own fault, but there's not much a writer can do to stop it from being predictable when you have a main character. Like, no matter what the story is, if you have a main character, the odds are they're not going to die.
Right. You can even do the opposite, where you kill the main character early, because then we'll almost get the immediate presumption that the next person we follow is just the next person that will die.
The real question is it's no longer, oh, the main character, he's going to be fine. The real question is, how mean is the writer going to be to the main character? Are we going to get a Luke
Yes.
Skywalker where this man gets his whole arm cut off and his world destroyed and falls down a hole?
It was in his whole arm.
Look, that hand was the whole arm to me.
Didn't even take off the
What?
elbow.
Actually, true. There's, I guess it speaks to a balancing act. What it is, it's how much you want the story to influence your main character, and how much you want your main character to influence the world that they're in. Or I should keep the terminology the same. How much the world will influence the main character, how much the main character will influence the world. Of course, one of our Shadow Monarchs' greatest criticisms is that it's usually the world impacting the main character more so because the world is bleak and depressing in these types of stories, and not that and not worth rooting for or saving. So maybe finding a way to make a nice, healthier balance, or even one where we do end up getting a markedly better world than what was at the beginning of the story, is a goal to strive for.
There is one show, well, one manga that I've read that's very similar to a death game, but it's not a death game.
Yeah.
It's like if YouTube was a death game.
Oh my god. So actually,
And it's called Death Tube.
okay. New criticism. Make sure you change your name.
New criticism. Whatever the fuck this is, don't do it.
So Death Tube.
You're gonna call your
Talk
game
about Death Race.
anything.
Spend
Please
more
make it.
than 6 minutes on your title.
Yeah. So Death Tube is one of those. It's one of those things where it's like this underground thing that you have to be in it to know. And in order to be in it, you either have to be a viewer or you have to be a participant. And participants,
Wait, why do I think I heard of this?
I think I've
yeah,
heard of this too.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of it. The participants have to they have to once they start producing
Oh,
content, they have to keep producing content. But you can make
yeah, I
a
remember
lot of
this.
fucking money, and people can just straight up die in it, but people don't have to die. It's just that's how far people have gone in these events that they put on for views.
Yeah, like that one person who hid underneath a subway train.
Jesus.
I'm not even gonna get into death too, because that could be a wham
Ah,
jam by itself. Like Kaiser would have a field day roasting the writing in that, but
all right.
he would never get past chapter 3. I promise you, he would never get past chapter 3.
That sounds like a bet.
You
Sounds
know,
like a
I
challenge.
Sounds like a
had
bet.
I had a very trying to think about how to put this. It wasn't exactly a story idea as it merely was a mild framework idea for a story that could be interesting in the death game context.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the idea was at the point in time that the idea was made, it's an adventurer who has not a deal with death, but something has happened with it and whatever is in charge of death that did not go well. And so death refuses to let this person actually die, but they also aren't allowed to basically have anything. Like, they die several times and have to start life over, but also they live long enough to see all of their friends die, either on adventures or due to horrible accidents.
Oof.
Ooh, ooh. Can I pitch an idea that's off the top of the dome right now?
Of
Sure.
course.
So long as it's not what I just said, but said differently.
No.
Say what he
Uh,
said, but say it differently.
okay. What did you say, Kaiser?
I'm not saying it again.
So, like, because the idea popped up earlier, but as you know, my inspiration is random and self-destructive. So it's a sort of online styled one where it's more people versus environment than people versus each other.
Okay.
And there's they get dropped into a giant city, so it's kind of like a battle royale FPS game, but just an MMO style battle royale game where the parties get dropped down into the world and they have to fight through various parts of the cities and whatnot to make it to the final boss. And there's bosses in between the various layers of the
I,
city, and
I
you
love
have to
Log
beat the
Horizon.
final boss in a time limit. If you don't make it to the final boss in this time limit, everybody dies. And as you beat bosses, the world encroaches on itself. So there's no lazy people going like in SAO. I'm gonna sit here in town and do nothing and wait for other people to beat the game for me. If you're doing that, you're just sitting there in the town. You just get deleted. You have to progress or everybody dies.
I love Darker Log Horizon.
I like Log Horizon.
I was gonna call it. I was gonna call it Final Fantasy 14 meets American Ninja Warrior.
Well, I don't like the every man for itself, for themselves type battle royales because it breeds whoever's willing to do the worst type of shit wins. But when it
Mm.
comes
That
to
they should.
actual when it god damn it, when it comes to actual party dynamics and having to work together to beat surmountable odds, it's more of a test of how well you work together and how close are your bonds than it is a test of how shitty of a person are you.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to tackle the main criticism you had about the worst type of people usually being in these types of stories outside of our reluctant do-gooders. I respect it.
Kaiser. Kaiser, not Caius. I just have to ask.
Oh.
Yes.
Do you just want like a zombie apocalypse story where
No.
everyone gets along, but they
No.
have to, but like they all just have to kill the zombies?
It's not that I don't want it to
I
be
do.
dark or I don't want people to die. I'm okay with people dying. It's just most of the time in these stories, the good people die on bullshit and the bad people live long enough for you to hate the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. I mean, if the bad people die early and all the good people live, we only got 6 episodes.
Now, I mean, make it, give us some counterbalance, like in Squid Game. Those two people, the thug dude and the chick who would do anything just to survive, they lived way too long. One of them should have at least killed each other by that point.
Yeah.
No, we need them antagonized.
We need them. We need them antagonists.
Because I understand there needs to be conflict and stuff, but the bad people are so evil and so unlikable to the point of becoming caricatures. And then the good people are so fucking goody two shoes that they get fucked over by the bad people, and you're just thinking, how are you that fucking stupid?
So you want a good balance of everyone being good and evil?
I want
Perfectly
smart
balanced
people.
as all things should be.
I want smart people to play the fucking game. And I don't want all the bad people, even though they're dumb, making it to the end. Because the bad guy in Squid Game in particular played the game incredibly poorly because he made enemies of everybody, including his own people. He was only living because they were scared of them. All it would have took is for like 5 of them to think, "We got this," and he would have been done early in the game. But no, he survived until the end. He outlived his underlings. I don't know how. How can they all be that stupid? Because
I'm sorry.
they're only living long enough for him to throw them off the edge at the end.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Well, when you misspoke underlings, I thought you were about to say Unga Bunga Unga.
Damn.
I only
What?
speak Unga Bunga when I'm playing Ito.
Well, I get it. Oh, so there's still clearly a lot of very particular kinds of entertainment factors that you can get from this genre, but definitely in the way of having a nice, happier story where certain trials and tribulations are overcome with sheer grits and the human condition. You'll get those, but not as frequently, and definitely not enough to justify what is almost always a bleak world setting that even facilitated these circumstances in the first place. Maybe one day I'll come across something that's a little brighter and see if this changes my perspective on anything that I've said over the last couple of
I
hours.
ain't here for brightness. Kill each other. I want blood.
Did you might as well just set up every match like what was it? Yu Yu Hakusho knife edge death match.
Yeah, I do. So far, my overall favorite, and I've dedicated a large chunk talking about it, so I'm hoping it's obvious, is Alice in Borderland. The combination of its mystery and the game itself does provide a lot of entertainment for me because it offers the opportunity for very complex character interactions, as well as games that are a little more. Some are more nuanced than others, especially the low card level ones were very easy and simple to explain, like tag. But that's fine because I also think that gave a lot of flexibility, unlike what some of the other stories, even Dead Man Wonderland that I haven't talked about, try to do where they give the characters special abilities, which it becomes a lot more limiting, honestly, because it's never about how any old person could solve a complex puzzle like an Alice in Borderland or outwit a fellow human opponent that has slight advantages. It's like, I have a black hole grenade. Theoretically, this should evaporate everything in between you and us, and that it matters in this world. But you have a grenade that pops out confetti, and somehow you pop your confetti grenade first, make me shit my pants, and I drop my black hole grenade, and I fall into my own black hole. It,
Good time.
that hypothetical is remarkably less simple. Is remarkably more simple than a very complex, almost game theory interaction between what happens in tag as a comparison.
There's also another show that does this. I'd like to call it Mirai Nikki 2 because it
You
uses
mentioned
a
it in
lot.
chat, right?
Darwin
Yes,
game.
Darwin's game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the guy is lauded for being really good at the game, but he's not all that good at the game. And then he ends up with this yandere chick who falls in love with him, and she's really good at the game, but somehow is submissive to him.
All the
I put
time,
she's
baby.
more. She's not really a yandere. I put her more in the tsundere category.
No, she
Like
openly acts like she loves the dude, but she'll murder anybody who says anything against him.
That's a yandere, Maurice. We cannot argue against facts.
I do not remember her. This person, the blonde, right?
Yes, the way she's like throwing around chains like snakes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, all she's doing is just playing the game, having a good time.
Lord.
I feel like there's a way to remix the song That's Amore with That's a Yandere.
I might
Please
be
do.
I might be able to get a VTuber friend to make a cover song of it.
That, yes. Ugh.
Do I have a survival game that I can say is my favorite?
You talk very positively of Eden in the East, and you're the person
I
that introduced me to it.
I love Eden of the East, but I can't say it's my favorite because
I
I ain't gonna lie, I didn't have any fear in it.
Okay, that's fair. Kaiser, you were about to.
I enjoyed playing PUBG.
Of course you did.
I only won one time, and it was at like 11 o'clock at night, and I shouted so loud that I was worried I woke people up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Your
Because
favorite survival game is Fall Guys.
it is not. Fuck off with that shit.
You do so great.
I hate you for teasing me like this.
You got
I'm calling
to
my
second
mom.
place on the last one. And the only reason why you didn't win is because you blew yourself off the cliff. While I was like, Kaiser, it's just you and me left.
So you just sacrificed yourself so Maurice could be the lone victor?
No.
Accidentally, he thought there was another.
Yeah, I thought it was someone else. So it was funnily enough, I'm pretty sure I'm also the one that killed the second to last guy.
Yeah, we were just throwing bombs at him, and you got the kill. I was like, Kaiser, it's over. And you had one in your hand, and you just slightly threw it and it blew up in your face.
Right.
Yeah, because I
And I
completely
just watched you.
I got
No.
really into it. You know how sometimes when I'm playing tank, how sometimes I just get too into the game and I end up making like really dumb mistakes because my brain turned off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened here because I completely forgot that Maurice was running around this fucking Mecha Godzilla, and I tried to throw the bomb at him, and it literally just landed on my own foot. It was just like, ah! I'm pretty sure I even apologized to Maurice, like, oh god, I lost it for us, and you were like, I won.
It's just us. I won.
Wasn't my fall off really sad too? Like I landed on the edge and just slowly rolled off.
Yeah, I heard like sad music play in the background. Oh, I know what my favorite one is. And
Okay.
it's one that may be surprising because I have not brought it up in this death game scenario.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The circle.
Death Parade is actually a death game.
Yes, it is. I'm quite surprised that you haven't talked about it.
It's because it's a rare death game of we actively follow the host of the game and not the players. But each episode, new players show up, and the game is pretty much this. They don't know how they got here into purgatory. All they know now is they're here. These are the game. This is the game you're going to have to play. The winner of the game goes to heaven. or is reincarnated. I don't remember. The loser of the game goes to fucking hell. You're going right to hell. I don't even care if you're a good or a bad person. You're going to hell.
Okay. Excellent
Can I
state.
Have fun. Have fun.
Right, it's all this about being a good person and being rewarded eternally in the afterlife. Nah, can you win a game of Fall Guys though?
I absolutely
Pretty much,
cannot.
yeah. It's like, oh, you have to play a game of darts, but wherever you hit, you'll be hurting the person next to you. Oh, that person's your girlfriend because y'all died together in a car crash. Man, that's crazy. As I hit the fucking heart, die, bitch.
Yaga, only one of you can go to heaven. I'm going to heaven. What, Johnny?
Listen, I'm
It
not
be
going
like
to
that,
hell.
and that's the
You
game.
heard
That's
the
the psychological
rules.
part of it. They be playing hard to get. Sometimes people be like trying to sacrifice each other, and it's just like everybody. Put your hands
Everybody's
up.
dancing in the intro. Yes. So that's fun. That is
Yeah, I
great.
love Death Parade. It
For the record,
is.
my favorite deathmatch story is Team Deathmatch.
I also quite like. We will hopefully get to talk about that later. Guys,
Mm.
what you got for us? I know you said that this is definitely a genre that you don't have a lot of affinity towards. Has there been any that we've talked about or any that we haven't talked about yet that at least gave you some entertainment value?
Now,
Fate.
I know
He loves
Kai
Fate.
is the weeb man over there definitely loves Sword Art Online.
I like Sword Art Online for a bit. I didn't even hate the fairy dance arc. And I love the idea of Sword Art Online, but Sword Art Online is one of those shows that kind of killed anime for me.
Oh no.
Damn,
What?
murdered it.
And it's not because I think Sword Art Online is a bad show, is but
Because he lied.
because there was something I noticed and I can't stop unnoticing it now in other anime and it's pissing me off where the animators are taking a source material and they're rushing and rushing and rushing to get to the big moments instead of letting it stew and allow the show to do what it needs to do to get build up to the proper height. So it's still good, but it's not as good as it could be. And that for me started with Sword Art Online and how fast they ran through the Aincrad arc. If they had just made that the entire season, Sword Art Online would not get mocked as much as it does.
Yeah, but Rekikar Howard was like, yeah, I'm done. We out.
Floor 75, close enough to 100.
So
Hey, that sound like 100.
that's
That
kind of why
sounds
I
like
like
100.
that's kind of why I like the player versus environment survival style games because you're still working against other people because there's always going to be a percentage of people that's a piece of shit. But you can still see the good and the bad in humanity when you're dealing with those types. So for that, I do like Sword Art Online for that. But other than that, I can't say there's a survival game that I really liked.
Zatch Bell.
Oh yeah, Zash Belt. Yeah, that's still my favorite. It's above Sword Art for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Zatch Bell's just great. I don't know what
Yeah,
to tell people.
it's
Watch
gas.
Zatch Bell.
I still remember Bowser Kerrigan, and that's a very hard to say word.
Nah, I
There
like
you
Zio
go.
Zakariga. I'm mad
When
that I
I was
still
younger,
remember
I
those
couldn't say it.
spells.
Yeah, I
Fucking
remember a lot of the spells.
Zakariga, Bowser Zakariga, Zio Zakariga, Rouser
Gigano
Root, one of my
Gravidon.
first.
Right?
Ooh, I love Rouser Root, and then the lightning hits Zatch or Zeno, and then it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm invincible! 1 minute later, I am dead!
Like Bronco has some of the coolest spells though.
Raise, Gravity
I
Ray,
still don't like
Fire,
him as
Gravity
a
Ray.
character, but I like his spells.
Yeah. I love
Alright,
Sherry
Coitls.
just fucking having the book closed and using rays. And people are like, holy shit, she can cast without opening her book? And it's like, that is a power up. Everyone
Yeah.
else got to open up that big ass book. She just got it by her side. Eventually, someone's just going to leave it at home.
Now I'm thinking, is there another survival type thing that I really liked?
Dot hack.
That wasn't a survival story, really.
I don't even know what that story's about.
It's about being
Nobody
doxxed and
knows what
hacked.
that story's about.
Fucking,
You know
I
what it's about.
literally
I
the
know what it's
first
about.
No, literally the first thing I remember from watching that series, from what I was told was the first episode, was... Shut up, you said a really funny word earlier too. I didn't make fun of you for it out loud. I only laughed.
Well, you missed your chance.
Watching what I was told was the first episode of that series was someone going, "Hey, give me that thing that lets me change my appearance so I don't have to be a guy anymore." Because we like, and it's just like, can you leave?
That sounds like Log Horizon.
Yeah,
Shit.
Database.
that is
That is
exactly
Log Horizon. I haven't seen Diac.
I could write
Goddamn.
They're all the same.
I could write a thesis paper for my 10 years of research on that show and the series of games, but nobody will understand it. So there's no point talking about Dot Hack.
People out here understanding
All
Kingdom
right, can
Hearts. I
someone
think
tell
it's
me what the
fine.
fuck was going on with Log Horizon then?
Database.
At a
Log
different time.
Can they leave?
No, they're
No.
trying to.
Why can't they
Luckily.
leave?
We can talk about it more next time on When.
No.
Cliffhanger Kaiser.
Next time on Video Games.
But yeah, I think we've exhausted all of our talking points. This has been great. Definitely, we're gonna. I definitely want to stay online for a little bit because I'm not tired as I thought I would be at 11 p.m. But this is definitely the end of the death game conversation. It is a time for now, at least.
That means it's the end of the YouTube video.
That's right.
Sorry about the lack of American death games like Death Race, Hunger Games, Death Race again.
Death Race
Race
3
was-
times.
Death race, wacky death race, speed
reason why-
racer means death race.
Thomas, why
The
have
reason
you
why-
just permanently put yourself much closer to your mic?
Because I wanted to do I wanted to do the Dragon Ball Z movie next time. I'm putting myself back regularly now.
Thank you. It sounds like you're just running your lips along the mic.
The reason nobody brought up Death Race is because Death Race wasn't about the death game.
But it's still a death game.
I don't know, it was pretty cool. Also, no one brought up Hunger Games because it sucks. Anyway, that's it for the YouTube video.
I also didn't watch the movies, so I just know about the love triangle or love.
That's all anybody fucking knows. So after the first one, that becomes fucking the main plot.
I fell asleep in the first Hunger Games movie. It was fucking boring. I'm not gonna lie.
My favorite part was when the black kid avenged the other black kid by banging this Asian kid's head into the wall, and then actively not killing another participant in this death game because she gave a funeral to the other black kid. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if she's the main character. Nigga, you gotta win.
You gotta win now.
Fuck. Shit, kill her too. Kill them both.
Are we gonna talk about how in Hunger Games it's apparently segregated? Because you never see a black character in Katniss's area, but apparently there's a whole area with just black people.
Yeah.
At last, we don't need y'all anymore. This is what we wanted from the start.
I don't know if I would be saying that. I'm pretty sure that there aren't any black people in the richer
Wakanda
communities.
forever. There is there's actually a death game in the Marvel comics.
I love how we're like, we've exhausted all of the deathmatch stuff that we have, and now we're like, well, actually, there is more.
Well,
It's
adding
it's
more
second
won't
place.
really. Yeah, it's not really adding anything. Yeah. Like, we went over all the basics. This is just like, oh, did you also know that Marvel did a little death game called Avengers Arena, which is Avengers Academy, but they decided, or Arcade decided, this fucking asshole Avenger, he decided to kidnap kids from the Avengers Academy and put them into a little death game. It's like, all right, now kill each other if you want to escape. And most of them said no. Bad news. He also threw X-23 in there. X-23, perfectly normal. I'm not going to kill my friends. X-23 gets hit by the trigger pheromone. Trigger pheromone sends her into a berserker rage. Oh, well, now we got to run, kids.
Damn, looks like my friends look really
Murderable.
Killable.
Got the Birdman hand
Y'all
rub.
look like you could die.
Mhm.
And then like other people started having to fight each other for particular reasons. We can't forget about the battle royale that was inside Fairy Tale. That was fun.
see, Maurice, I have to watch you because if there's ever a moment where we're all in a group and we're in a death game, and like it just comes out of nowhere, like SEO, we get teleported in, and starts talking about, oh, everybody has like a bounty on their head, $1 billion per person. Whoever comes out at the end gets whatever number is above their head as like money. Like if I start to see you slide out of the group towards the back, I already know you're about to just shoot all of us in the back of the fucking head.
Okay, here's the question. Here's the question. Do we know only one can win?
Yes, only it would be a only one can win type thing.
Can we fight against the system?
The system?
Yeah, like if let's just say we all stay on a team, can we fight against the person who made the game and not have to kill each other?
I mean, you can
I
try,
prefer to
but
keep
their
you all
guns are bigger
alive.
than yours.
Look, if we can fight
I
them,
am a
I'd
gun.
rather fight them than like if we have a chance to fight back against the system, I'd rather fight against the system than shoot my friends in the back. If we get into there's no other choice in the matter. One of us has to survive, yada yada yada, things like that. Hopefully, we can all work together long enough for someone else to kill all of you,
See, I know I'm
so I
gonna
don't have
die
to.
first because I am the biggest target, number one, and I have very shitty luck. We're just gonna be having the time of our lives. We're gonna survive the worst shootout we've ever been in, and we're all gonna be like, yeah, yeah, and then I'm just gonna drop dead, just like the chick in Halo, just out of
I'm not
nowhere.
gonna shoot. Look, I'm not gonna shoot you
So
unless I
long as
have
the
to.
jackal doesn't just like show up and go ha and then run away.
Or, God forbid, a mountain lion while we're sitting in a tree.
I will fuck the mountain lion up if I need to. Even though the mountain lion has the advantage, it's gonna be like trying to maul me. I'm taking both his eyes. I don't give a fuck.
Are you gonna wear it as a necklace?
The mountain lion, it's kind of heavy.
No, I meant the eyeballs.
Oh, I mean, if it doesn't kill me, I mean, look, if it kills me, I still crippled it. This was a bad mistake on your part. This was your last meal. Now you have no advantage.
All right.
If
And
I have a statement, but no one's allowed to be mad at me for it.
all right,
All right, let's go.
Obviously, in the death game situation, I'm gonna try to have us work together for as long as possible. If it do get down to the point that it's very clear that we cannot fight against the machine, which, believe me, I will probably hold out hope for that for literally the entire allotment of time.
oh, indeed.
One of two things will happen. I'm probably just gonna shoot myself. Take myself out of the equation. Depending on the situation, though, again, not allowed to be mad at me. Kai's Thomas, I might shoot you and let Maurice kill me.
I know.
I accept these
I
odds.
was.
Maurice is like, damn, double my odds instantaneously?
see,
I was
Good.
never considering anything else. Here's the thing. It's a one. None of us, presumably, even though you joked in jest earlier, none of us presumably would want to actively be a part of any of these games.
Nope.
But I'm also very, very, very stubborn when anything tells me to do something I don't want to do. So I quite literally will end up destroying myself fighting against the machine.
You'd get shot by the
It
space laser.
Bring it on.
Even if it's mutually assured destruction, that I take out the machine while blowing myself up, John Henry Iron style, I'll do it.
Yeah,
That
I
man's
feel
an
that.
inspiration to me.
I feel that. I
Mhm.
subscribe to the Jaden Yuki ideal set. It's not over till the last card is played, so my last card is me dying, so I will
I'm the
fight.
Joey. The Yu-Gi-Oh analogy. Then I'm the Joey Wheeler. I'll just throw hands with you, and everyone will tell me, "No, Thomas, settle in with card games. Fuck card games. Run the
Mhm.
I will fight until I will rebel. I am a rebel at heart. I will rebel.
Uh,
Yeah.
if you guys are involved, I will rebel. I'll be 100% honest though. If you guys aren't involved physically, but it's like, win this death game or we'll kill your friend, I'm gonna kill a lot of people. Like, I'm gonna be 100%. When it comes to like the fucking trolley issue, it's like if you pull the lever, one person you know will die. If you don't pull the lever, 5 people you don't know will die. I'm gonna stare at the fucking person ask me the question as those 5 people get run over, and there are 3 of you guys. That's at least 15 people.
You gonna lean into his face? Did that feel good for you?
You
Killing
have
those
about
people?
how this
You
is
pulled the
going.
lever. You pulled the lever.
You put the
You started the
I
fucking
knew.
train.
you put
I
these
knew
people
my
in the
answer long
trolley.
ago.
You understand the internet prepared me for this question. I know what I'm about.
For me, I feel kind of bad because I'm the person that Ross hates. Now, I'm not going to betray my friends because I need them, but like, I will make allies in these death games. People will be like, "Oh man, it's so good that you're on our side." Yeah, yeah, and they will be betrayed so hard, and you're gonna be like, "How do you sleep at night like a baby?"
You see, I'm not gonna do that. My entire goal, put in a death match situation
Lucky
or some kind of a
me.
death fight. I want to be the guy that people start talking to. Is that the motherfucker that has a sword? Because I am gonna be that guy. I'm gonna fuck it. I got a lot of swords in here. I'm just gonna equip some of them. Like, haha. Now time to get
Oh,
a gun because these things are only good at one range.
I guess me and Kaiser got to do a duel of fates.
Ooh,
Do you
I too
have a
want to be
sword?
the sword guy. I have several swords.
Do you have any that are
yes.
5'8"?
No, that's
I
just them.
can't tell. They all look small to me.
Because I have a Lowlander Claymore and I am not afraid to use it.
I can one-hand a claymore.
You
I do
cannot.
know.
That's not how the leverage works. I will win due to your poor form.
I do know one thing. If we're all in a apocalypse scenario where it's like, oh no, we're on a zombie apocalypse and we have to work together as a group, we're not going to have problems as long as I'm a part of the politics. Because as we're having a conversation, as soon as someone starts stepping out of line, they're not even going to see me pull out the gun. I don't have time for you.
Are you
My
the
objective is to keep this group alive.
All I can picture is like people who have been a part of the community for a while. Someone starts to say some wild shit. To just start looking at Maurice as he slowly pulls out the gun. The person talking doesn't notice.
I am
Like,
what you call the Pathfinder.
yeah, like there'd be like, let's say like you're looking at The Walking Dead, they be having arguments of like, should we allow this new person in the group? And the new person's tied up, and it's like we need to let him go. Let's let him go back to his own people. No, because that's how they find us. And bam! I'm sorry, I was taking too long. I shot him.
Where he has his own people, and Maurice pulls out the pistol. Bam, bam, bam.
What people?
So you could have just started the war.
They're
I mean,
dead.
they'll never know. What, you're gonna go and tell them that we shot his people? If anyway, we've already been exposed. One of them found us. We gotta go. We're done. If I see another one, I'm shooting them. But we could have like talked to them. No, no, that's not how this works.
You see, the good thing about
Everyone, everyone's a zombie to me now.
you
Unless
see
they're you, they're a zombie.
you see the good thing about being the sword guy is when it comes to negotiating with other groups of people, you can't have the whole like, oh yes, we go and talk real close together, and then all of a sudden betrayal. It's like, go ahead, betray me. You're in my range now.
I'm still just gonna pull out a gun. Like,
Stop
look, we
holding
can
You
do
do,
my
you
gun.
don't
negotiations.
come into close range. That's my job as the sword guy.
Yes. Oh yeah, I know. But it's just like if we're doing negotiations, yeah, as long as everything's going smoothly and everything, sure, I'm keeping an eye on people. Everything's gonna go fine. Look, as soon as one of them tries to mess up the op, I might just have to start shooting people. And I ain't even gonna hesitate. It's not gonna be that one shot pause. No, it's gonna be bop, 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 bop. And hopefully people follow up with shooting. Because they were trying to mess up the whole op. We were trying to give them alcohol and they want to give us food. And then they wanted to try to negotiate for more alcohol for less food. And I'm like,
Wow,
why you gotta be
bang.
like this? Why you
Damn,
gotta
now
be
I
like
gotta
this?
learn
Now
to
we just
farm.
gotta take this.
Are we still even talking about the topic?
No, we're talking about that I'm an evil character.
And I'll support your evil things.
Are you lawful evil or chaotic evil?
Lovely. I want our group to survive, but I want everything to run smoothly. Once something stops running smoothly, that's when the evil kicks in. And literally, when you like start walking to our town, there are just people hung there.
Maurice
I
is.
don't think we'll have hung people.
I believe a Maurice catchphrase that really
You think I
embodies
won't?
a Maurice catchphrase that really embodies everything that he's describing. Do not fuck up the operation. If you do your job and you do not fuck up the operation, he will not be unreasonable.
Also, no, Maurice,
Nope.
I don't think that you wouldn't. I just also believe that I would cut down the bodies because, no, I live here.
Look,
That's gross.
look, they need to know.
I live
No.
here.
Yes, but
This
outside of
isn't
it,
the
look,
aesthetic I want for my zombie apocalypse shelter.
they're outside of it. They're not inside. They'll be
I
like
go
zombies
outside.
Now, before we
There's
continue the rest of this
no
conversation,
zombies out there.
before we continue the rest
That
of
are
this
trying to eat the bodies.
let us properly end the death game conversation and recording, so we can go back to talking about whatever else we want to talk about.
All right,
I
great.
thought we done recording.
Nope, not done recording because I didn't say the thing.
Oops. Great. Now YouTube knows I'm evil.
That's fine. They get into the other things that go into our conversations. But
This is just. Listen, I'll be 100% honest with you, YouTube. WAMM Jams are basically just us hanging out. We just give ourselves a topic to talk about instead of just going, hey, what's up? We send a text message and we go, hey, what's up? What do you want to talk about this week?
And then we figure it out on Thursday. Then we panic on Friday.
And then one and or more of us will very quickly do like 30 minutes of research to make sure we know what the fuck we're gonna say.
yes, all the time. Maurice, would you like to give us the closing remarks?
He doesn't remember them.
Don't worry. This is
Thank you
what
for joining us. Thank you for joining us on this week of Wham. I hope you enjoyed learning about different survival games, which is a very weird genre because most of them fall under psychological thriller. I don't know why. I hope you join us here next week when we talk about some topic we're going to discover on Tuesday.
I would like to point out, just for YouTube, is where I send out the message for what we're going to talk about on Sunday, generally to no response until Tuesday.
We take a while to think about it. I do have a this week being an exception. I have an idea for a topic. It
Okay.
actually ties in very well to a lot of characters that we've already talked about here for our death games. The
Tune in next week to find out what the topic is. No, go do something.
All right. Good night. Go right.
Go do something. Get out of here. Go.
Get busy. Make art.
Right. Make art
Get
and write. Learn to do
destroyed.
both.
Do
Huh?
something.
I feel
Be
productive.
productive.
Good.
Yes.